How's it going, guys? Austin Lane, ESPN 690 Radio here with Action Sports Jax. My co-host Brent Marrone will be here in a little bit. Still coming back from Disney. Maybe hit a little bit of a traffic, but he'll be here momentarily. But it's still the big news of the day, and we're on day 3 now. And when we're talking about the front office and the miscommunications, I mean, it's literally come to a head today. And I talked about yesterday. I said, if you're Shad Khan, you're the owner, you have all the money, you have the gift to control the narrative of how the outside world, the media, other players, and society deems you. You have the power to do that, and you didn't. What you did is you sent Doug Marrone up there to the press conference to, supposedly talk about the Atlanta Falcons coming up because there's a game coming up. Guys are still fighting for their jobs. That's coming up. But instead, 90% of the questions, like we knew it was going to be, was about the NFLPA. And you put Doug Marrone in a bad situation once again. And once again, the narrative is the fact that there is no communication at Jaguars headquarters. There is no idea of how to run that business at Jaguars headquarters. And with all due respect to Shad Khan, who I'm a big fan of, it starts with him at the top. Now, if Shad Khan was to come out and not even say anything, not even put a statement out, but just make, the proper firings that should occur, more specifically with Tom Coughlin, because now it's coming out where Tom Coughlin fined Leonard Fournette last year for sitting on the bench, and he got fined $90,000 for that. Well, guess what? Leonard Fournette got his money back, apparently, because he got all the $99,000 for sitting on the bench, and that has been rescinded, and that is going back to Leonard Fournette. So there's a little Christmas bonus for Leonard Fournette as well. But we're talking about finding a guy for sitting on the bench. We're talking about finding guys who the CBA strictly states that you can't, after the season, you can't stay in the training room if you don't want to. We're talking about guys getting fined for that. Okay, these are things that are clearly written in the CBA. You're breaking the rules. And maybe this kind of dictatorship, maybe this kind of, just all out, just power control, I own you kind of mentality worked back in the 90s, maybe even worked back in the early 2000s, but it's 2019. And that kind of behavior, that kind of mindset, it doesn't work anymore. You have failed to relate to your players and Tom Coughlin. Now, getting back to Doug Marrone, who I've been very critical about Doug Marrone basically the entire year, and it started with that Baltimore game and escalated to the Miami game during preseason when I was very adamant about saying Doug Marrone has to do a better job getting his team ready to play because the 10-plus penalties per pop is not going to win you many games. Well, lo and behold, here we are, and it's an underachieving season. And I think I've kind of echoed those sentiments throughout the entire year. Okay, so I've been kind of a critic on Doug Marrone. And I don't know Doug Marrone as a person. Okay, I've said what's up to him in passing, but I've never really had a conversation with the guy. I respect the type of guy that he is and the way he presents himself to the media. He seemed just kind of like the everyday kind of guy. Okay, and the players seem to respect him as well. So I take the player's standpoint and thinking that he's a pretty good coach and he's a pretty good guy. Now, obviously, the record this year doesn't reflect of how good of a coach he is, but from a person's standpoint, I think he's a good guy. But when I see him up there having to answer these questions, standing in front of the firing line when it's not his position to say something, take football out of it real quick. Take the game of football, take the NFL out of it. If this is any job and there's mistakes being made by upper management, there are clearly blatant mistakes being made, and you send a guy out there who it is not his job to relay those mistakes, to talk about those mistakes. His only job is to make sure his employees can play to the best of their abilities or work to the best of their abilities. That's his job. But when you're asking someone to go out of what their comfort zone is and what their job is to try to address people of what's going on in the stadium, in the front office when mistakes are being made, I don't care if it's football or I don't care if it's McDonald's. That's not right. That's not right from a business standpoint, and that's not right from a morality standpoint in my mind. And I get it. It's been a crap show this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But that doesn't mean that you have to treat people with disrespect. And right now, I feel like Doug Marrone, The head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars is getting disrespected. And all we have to go off of is what Doug Marrone says. And unfortunately, it's not a good look because it's not his job to answer those questions. I can't wait till this season's over. And obviously there'll be some changes. There'll be a new regime coming in. I hope Doug Marrone or somebody in that stadium writes a book in the next year. I'll edit it if I have to. I'll put money towards it if I have to. But I want to see this book because what we know right now is the communication. It's an absolute just crap show. I can only imagine what's going on behind the scenes, what we're not actually seeing. I can only imagine, and I hope someday we find out. And this is a direct correlation to, in my standpoint, from the performance on the field. You know, like what we talked about, yes, the Jaguars are liable at some positions, right? This has been an underachieving season. They beat Oakland last week, but they had that 5-game skid, and they're playing some of the worst football that we've seen in Jacksonville history. And I've been very adamant in saying that this is probably the most disappointing season in Jacksonville history. But when you think about it, the biggest constant through the whole season, whether it was preseason, through the regular season, through that 5-game skid, it's the fact that there has been communication. There's been guys missing their assignments. There's been guys not in the right spot, and there's been guys that have not been lined up. And that's what I call communication. And when we're talking about communication, you see it in the locker room, and where do you think those mistakes come from? And they come from the top. They come from the miscommunication between the GM, between the vice president of operations, and the head coach, and it trickles down from there. This team never had a shot to be successful because it starts at the top and it trickles down. Fred Marno, how are we doing today, man?
What is up? What kind of Mickey Mouse operation is this?
Who you telling, man? Well, if anybody can comment on Mickey Mouse right now, it's you, man. Yeah.
Damn, I'm a little mad at Mark Long because he had that $99,000 an hour ago.
Yeah.
And I was going to bring that up today because that's that kind of gives you some insight, right? Mm-hmm. Guys said, listen, it wasn't a good look for Leonard Fournette last year, but $99,000 for sitting on a bench when you're inactive? That, you know, because what a lot of people don't know, what are these grievances, right? That's what we're trying to get to. Like, how many are them? That's the number one question. How many are we talking about? Well, I put it to somebody the other day. I said, is it like the Jags have 25 out of 100? Do they have 10 out of 40? Is it 100 out of 400? You know, what is it like? And it was like the last answer probably was closer to it. No exact number still, but we're talking about a lot of grievances. We're not just talking about Dante Fowler's 25, or there are a lot more to it. And I think the Leonard Fournette one is interesting because it gives a little insight about $99,000 for sitting on a bench when you're inactive. But yes, it was a bad look. Yeah. I didn't even realize that would be part of the fine system, to be honest with you. I just thought he would get publicly lambasted by people, which he did. I think it was a statement by Tom Coughlin at the time. I just didn't really think about it from a fine standpoint. I don't remember that part of the conversation. But there are a lot of things guys get fined for that I don't even think we would assume they would get fined for. So I think that gave you a little bit of insight. Mark Long tweeting that out, and he said Leonard Fournette confirmed it, and I could have confirmed it for you too because I've just been working on that the last couple of days, some of those kind of instances, and that says a lot to me. So, hey, you're talking top down. It is still a big story, and Tom Coughlin does not look good in all of this. And I know what you're saying, Doug Marrone, again, the front guy, and he's been put in some really tough spots. I thought he answered it pretty well today, about as good as he could until he gets more information. This is one you don't want to battle publicly, to be quite honest, if you're Doug Marrone, because you don't want to get stuck in between. You can really put yourself in between. And he's done all he can to kind of align himself with the players, it seems like, this year, and get himself separated from the front office. But I'm not surprised we didn't hear more without more detail. I just don't think he feels like it's his job to do that. Now, is it Tom Coughlin's? Is it Shad Khan's to at least have a statement on behalf of the organization? It definitely isn't Doug Marrone's, because any kind of statement he supports the organization with, who pays him, might look bad against the players who he's trying to inspire and coach and get ready to play a football game on Sunday. So it would have been an impossible spot for Marrone to answer.
Well, and keep in mind, too, with Doug Marrone, he still has – I mean, this is kind of like a job interview for him, right? Because more than likely he's going to be out of here, okay? He's going to be gone, and one would think that he wants to keep on coaching. So the other teams are watching probably how he handles this thing as well. And so far, from what we've seen, I think Doug Marrone has handled himself with class. And I think the players would attest to that as well. The whole $99,000 thing for Leonard Fournette. And listen, I understand, and I've been around the Seahawks a little bit, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I want to get into it a little more. You know, I've had friends who played on the Seahawks. I have friends who are staff on the Seahawks, and I'd almost signed with the Seahawks. I visited there a couple times. And the culture there is obviously one of great magnitude, right? Pete Carroll has set that operation up where it should flourish for a long time to come, as long as he's there. The whole point is the fact, though, is that he knows when to pick his battles, right? Like, he is a player's coach. But don't get it twisted. If you mess up, Pete Carroll will rule with an iron fist. The whole point is you have to know when to pick and choose your spots. Picking and choosing your spots of finding a guy $99,000 on the sidelines for sitting on a bench. Pick and choosing your spots of finding a guy who has to supposedly, quote-unquote, stay in the training room the whole time. Those are not spots that you want to pick, okay? Because that doesn't have a correlation to winning. That has a correlation to you being a power egotistical maniac as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sorry for harsh language, but I'm telling the truth. So from that perspective, I feel like you got to know when to pick and choose your spots. It's okay to rule with an iron fist sometimes, but sometimes you have to see the side of the player as well. And right now you have a front office and a culture that does not see the side of the player.
Yeah, because you want them all in. You want everything in return. I think that's what Doug tried to create this year with his football team, against the maybe front office, against that view of Coughlin, is saying, hey, you work for us and you're going to do whatever we say. No, instead it's, hey, what do you guys need? What can we do better? How can we do this better? Okay, you won't play that much in preseason games. We're going to take it a little bit easier. We're not going to go crazy in camp. It's still going to be tough, but it's not going to be crazy. We're going to do everything we can to get you ready, keep you fresh, keep you healthy, and keep you ready to go. And you know, my view on this is Doug did everything he can, and sometimes that doesn't work. It backfires, you know. And if you look around in Pete Carroll in Seattle, what they've done has allowed that to work. I think a big reason why is a Russell Wilson, because now he's been entrenched there, and he can tell other guys, hey, this is why it works. This is how it works. This new blood that they have in Seattle, hey, man, you better take care of your business. They'll take care of you, but you take care of your business, and you be ready to play. Well, this team just hasn't had the makeup, maturity, or whatever across the board to handle it that way. Because the one thing we can say, even about Leonard last year, and he'll admit it, he'll say it, Dante Fowler probably a little less likely to give in to any of his mistakes, but these are guys that did not represent things perfectly, did make mistakes. You know, Leonard Fournette admits that. But whether it's worth the $99,000 fine, whether it's worth those kind of things in return, well, that's a different kind of story. So it's disjointed, man. At the end of the day, it's disjointed. And a lot of that happens because of losses. You know, wins will hide everything. Again, I think a great example of this is the Patriots. Patriots do have everything falling in line, but that's because everybody knows the way, and the way works.
Correct.
I continue to argue, playing for the Patriots, I don't think a lot of people come out of there and say it's fun.
Absolutely. I agree.
I think people go to Seattle and say, you know, playing for it's fun. It's fun playing for Pete Carroll. And so you have two different ways of doing it, one with a lot more success, but one with a pretty decent amount of success, including this year as well, in Seattle. So there are different ways to do it, but you've just got to find the line. What I always say is you find a pretty good common denominator, two pretty good coaches, two damn good quarterbacks. And one more to that in there, a lot of wins over the last 5-6 years, and in the Patriots' case, 2 decades.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I think the Jaguars' problem is the fact that, and I don't think the Patriots are even this bad, right? Because for as much as players say when they come out of there, Danny Amendola is a prime example of how it wasn't fun. It wasn't a good time. You don't hear about all the grievances being filed in New England. Now, does that make a difference because they're winning? Maybe. But here's my point.
I don't know if there are. I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there are, but there's that 25%.
It's usually when you're exiting.
For sure.
I know I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. But when we're talking about the Patriots and talk about the Jaguars, well, the Jaguars are the 25th percentile. All right, 25% of the league grievances have come from Jacksonville. You guys aren't New England. Okay? Like, you can't act like you are New England if you're not winning games. You can't put on this fake front of, here's how we're going to do things, if you don't have the culture already in spot. Now, you can try to enforce it, and it's going to backfire. It's backfiring now. And like I said, I don't think even New England was this bad to the point of where, you know, guys are getting fined for, you know, for leaving treatment when they can. You know, I don't think New England is that bad. So what you have here is you have an organization that's trying to go above and beyond even what New England does, even though you don't have, number one, the leadership in place. Number two, you don't have the wins to back it up. And number three, you don't have the history of the culture to back it up. And this is why it's backfiring.
Hey, it's a big day across the country, National Signing Day. We'll have one of the big signees coming in studio a little bit later on. Ryan O'Halloran will join us a little bit later on. But we're stay on this topic in two different ways. I'm going to talk about two specific people in this situation. Coming up next, we begin with Tom Coughlin. A thought or two on how it got here for Tom Coughlin, even though it looked like it might have been going in a different direction when he left New York and got to Jacksonville in the first year. And then another one. I have said for the last few weeks now, this is going to be a clean sweep in Jacksonville. This was way before NFLPA stuff came out. I thought for sure it would be a clean sweep, and I still do. But does all this give you a little pause about Doug Marrone's future in Jacksonville? Does it change your thinking at all? That he's been a bit of a scapegoat, been put in a tough position to be successful, and has handled this in such a way that it might even impress Shad Khan, Tony Khan, those kind of guys at all? Does it move you? Those two guys are the topic of our conversation coming up next. Good to be back. Action Sports Shacks on ESPN 690. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Coos aboard. You can be too. *690 904-362-9901.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the first alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Mostly sunny skies today, much cooler today. We'll see highs in the mid to upper 50s. Overnight tonight, down into the 30s. With your first alert forecast, I'm Action News Jax meteorologist Garrett Biedenball.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Where now through December 24th, get 20% off everything in the store, including loose diamonds, only at Beard's Diamonds.
Luxury begins at the door of Atlantic Infinity with your concierge, no-pressure customer experience.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
Experience the wave of luxury in person at 10980 Atlantic Boulevard or at atlanticinfinity.com.
The holidays are on the horizon. That means family and food. Hey, everybody, I'm Brent Martineau. Let Renna's Pizza help you out. Parties at school, parties at work, celebrations, or maybe you're just tired of cooking yourself. Renna's has you covered with 5 locations in Northeast Florida. Want a fresh one? Renna's makes everything fresh. New York-style pizza, sandwiches, salads, and pasta dishes. Everything fresh. Find out why Renna's has been a family favorite for over 40 years. 5 locations in Northeast Florida. Marsh Landing, Bay Meadows, Argyle Forest, San Jose, and the newest location in Neptune Beach.
Pop quiz. If you sell a home for $500,000, how much would a traditional real estate agent charge in commission? If you guessed $25,000 to $30,000, you're right. But if you think that's the only way, you're wrong. This is why thousands of homeowners are making the switch to Rex. With Rex, you get a dedicated agent and a full-service experience at a fraction of the cost. Rex uses game-changing technology to cut out the middleman and save homeowners tens of thousands of dollars in fees. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. Remember, this is your home. Why give an insane amount of equity away to an agent? Rex offers the lowest fee in the industry without skimping on service. You'll work with an experienced real estate team with you every step of the way. Get the most out of your home. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. 833-REX-HOME.
Florida, CQ 1057788.
Minimum fee may apply. Not licensed in all 50 states. Visit rexhomes.com to see if Rex is available in your area. Rex fully supports the principles of the Fair Housing Act and Equal Opportunity Act.
Are you looking for the best wings around? I found the place. Listen up. Hey, everyone, it's Brent Martineau. Mr. Chubby's Wings is awesome. 2 locations, the West Side and in Fleming Island. They are a part of the community, too. Mr. Chubby's Wings wants to wish all of the high school teams good luck this fall. They've been supporting youth athletics for a decade. Get ready for the game at Mr. Chubby's. Celebrate the big win at Mr. Chubby's. Chub it up with the best wings around. Mr. Chubby's Wings on the West Side and in Fleming Island.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Jake Mitchell. The roster of the 2020 Pro Bowl team was announced last night. Looks like the only Jaguar headed to Orlando is defensive end Calais Campbell. No surprise that the Ravens led the voting, with 12 players making the roster, including lead vote getter Lamar Jackson. And in college football, it's signing day. Gator fans were excited at the prospect of Emmitt Smith's son, Emmitt Smith Jr., being a prospect for UF, like his father used to be. But he chose an entirely different coast and signed with Stanford. Here's Emmitt Smith on his son not choosing his alma mater.
My son has his own journey, and it is his journey, not my journey. I'm a Gator. He's still a Gator because he's in my family.
Stay connected with ESPN 690 while at work by listening on ESPN690.com. The best kept secret in tires is TireOutlet.com. Tire Outlet offers wholesale prices with premium service, and TireOutlet.com always has a safety first focus. With locations throughout the First Coast, there's no need to go anywhere else for tires and service.
Brent Martineau,
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jag.
Austin Lane,
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Whatever structure is in place at whatever team, I think we as coaches are always, a lot of times in some places it's the assistant coaches, that get a lot of feedback. For some reason, it's really weird how this profession is. When I was an assistant coach, I had a great relationship with a ton of people on the team, and I would say a personal relationship, and I had a lot of time. But the minute you start getting titles, so it's amazing to me. Like even here, like with the offensive line, you guys know I was the offensive line coach here. I had a great relationship, Parnell, Linder, those guys.
That's Doug Marrone earlier today, and a lot of questions about the NFLPA situation, the grievance situation. I think you said grievance gate. We've got plenty of gates in 2019.
It's grievance gate. Brent, we're going to start making T-shirts pretty soon, so hop on board if you're in.
To the Payton family, they may want to get on the show with the Gates here in town.
Yeah. I like it.
We have sponsorship opportunities here.
Plenty,
seemingly
man.
once a month around here.
Plenty. Cha-ching.
Brett Martineau, Austin Lane, Coos here. Thanks to Stuart Weber for filling in yesterday and snuck away for a day down to Disney, so that was fun with the family. Got to do that. But this story did not die, so we're kind of on top of that all day. Give me something to do in line for sure. But it's such a bad look for the Jags, and the more people you talk about, I mean, there are some people that will tell you, man, this is the worst organization in the NFL. And right now, it's kind of hard to argue against anything like that. One, on the field, they were, until last week, the worst team in the NFL over the last 6 weeks. And just the disjointed nature. And some of these things happen. And this isn't like the Jags are a lone wolf in terms of people pointing fingers and things going awry. When it goes bad in the NFL, it goes bad just about anywhere. And it can go bad in a hurry. Take San Francisco when they had Harbaugh, right? And they looked like they were at the mountaintop. And that thing went bam in a hurry, right? Remember that?
Of course.
So, I mean, you can go from being really good to really bad real quick in the NFL. But these kind of stories do not help. And I think Shad Khan has tried to run a good organization, try to put together a good product. And a lot of these moves that he's made have backfired. Whether he obviously thought they were the right decisions, but they've backfired. It hasn't worked. So some of his choices have not worked very well. And that really, over the last 3 years now, will go to Tom Coughlin. And I will always say this now, and I know people don't want to hear it right now because it feels like forever ago. 2017 was a monumental season around here. Whether you want to admit it or not, it was monumental. For anybody that is, 15 years old or 12 years old to probably some 20 years old, that was a massive season. It was the only season, quite frankly. They don't remember these late 90s seasons. So that was a massive season. And Tom Coughlin, I think, got a lot of credit for that. Too much credit at the time because I remember saying Doug Marrone's not getting enough of the credit during that time. But that's the way it works. We knew Coughlin would get a lot of the credit.
Yeah.
Maybe even Dave Caldwell that year didn't get enough credit for building some of the team, the core of that team around to be able to go to the championship.
Yeah, and the most important part is, remember, the roster was in place when Coughlin got in.
Yes.
Okay, so the talent on the roster was already here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's the decisions, right? It's the Bortles decision. It's the Foles decision. It's some of this stuff now has come out that almost makes it worse than the decisions, because in decision-making and personnel in the NFL, you're going to make mistakes. Now, sometimes you make colossal mistakes, and too many of those will get you out of town. And that might have been the case anyway. But this stuff, when you start making the organization look bad, when it's almost embarrassing to the point, when it is almost self-destructive inside Jags headquarters because you're not putting the organization, the football team, that roster in the best position to be successful. That's all anybody wants in life. At your job right now, you're listening, you want to be put in the best situation. If you go back to any frustration you might have as an employee, no matter what line of work, sometimes that frustration stems from you not believing that you have been put in the best position to succeed. And maybe in that sense, Jalen Ramsey had a point there. You know, looking back, maybe he did have a point there. Again, I will always argue if Jalen Ramsey was standing right here, right now, I would tell him, you did not go about that the right way. That was wrong. You didn't. That was a bad look.
And here comes Brent getting blocked. Can't wait.
I don't care about that. But I would tell him that to his face.
Sure.
And I because I believe that. That was a bad, the timing was bad, all that stuff was bad.
And you've been very adamant about that.
Especially if it was stewing. But that doesn't mean he wasn't right about some things. And now in hindsight, he's starting to look more right about some things. You know, you take a Leonard Fournette situation and this new news about the $99,000, and he was fined for sitting on the bench last year next to TJ Yeldon in that situation. And you take a Leonard Fournette and all the things that added up for Leonard Fournette, some self-inflicted, again, important to point out in Leonard Fournette's situation. And he said, you know what? I'm going to get better from this. He's like, I'm going to use this as motivation. And I still believe there's a sense of me, like he could still, again, he never really got those guarantees taken away. Just didn't necessarily get them guaranteed.
Correct.
Like he didn't lose money.
He had to earn it, though.
He has to earn it back. And so when you have to earn it back, he said, I'm going to go earn that damn money back. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
More power to him, right?
And he did.
So he
I
took,
think.
he's doing it.
Yeah.
And so that tack that he took, a little different avenue than Jalen Ramsey. So there's a couple of different ways to go about it. But what I want to get into here, Austin, is the Tom Coughlin facet of this. And I want to get to Doug Marrone in a moment in a different way. But Tom Coughlin, the guy I covered back in New York, when I was covering training camps in Albany and some Giants games, and we weren't every day covering in the season, so I don't want to misrepresent that, but they would come to Albany, New York for training camp, and so we covered every day at training camp. So I did it for 5 years in Albany, and before they moved out of Albany in training camp. And I always say this, around this kind of conversation, him and Strahan were going at it, man. I mean, it was a public deal in New York about him and Strahan and some of the team and going to the NFLPA, filing grievances, these same kind of things about Tom Coughlin. And it becomes legendary, especially after the fact, because they won, right? They won championships. Yeah. But if you read about what they won, well, he changed his ways a little bit. Strahan opened his eyes. Other players opened his eyes to, hey, man, this thing's changing. You can't do this. And that almost galvanized that football team. And they end up making big plays and win Super Bowls and, of course, raising Lombardis. I still think Coughlin, from that regard, will go, should go to the Hall of Fame someday. What I don't understand is if he learned that you had to have that give and take a little bit in New York and was successful doing it. What changed from when he got let go in New York to when he took the year off and worked for the NFL and comes back to Jacksonville and says, it's time to rule with the iron fist again and fine people $99,000 for sitting on a bench and piss all these guys off, and I don't care what they think down in Jacksonville, these kind of players. It's one thing to think that way in New York, but not in Jacksonville. You know, that's what I don't understand. I mean, he saw it work.
Here's the problem, though.
He saw the give and take work in New York.
Yeah.
Why didn't he see it in Jacksonville?
Here's the problem with that, Brent. You're talking about his time in New York, and that was, what, a decade ago? And now we're talking, a decade ago.
Especially all the success.
Correct.
Yes.
And the problem here is the fact that Tom Coughlin hasn't changed. Tom Coughlin has stayed true to who he is. And a lot of the times when people do that, we praise him for it, right? Like, oh, that guy's being true to who he is as a person. Good on him for doing that. But in the work environment, when the culture around you changes, when the player around you changes, you either adapt or you have to get out of the way, man. And he hasn't adapted, Brent. You know, I always talk about Andy Reid because Andy Reid is a guy I have a lot of respect for as a head coach. And I think he's one of the best head coaches right now in the NFL. And he's been like that for a long time, I would say. And when I was with the Kansas City Chiefs, guess what? It was Andy Reid's show, and he made sure everybody knew that. From that perspective, there was, like for instance, my position coach, my defensive line coach. It's no secret that me and him didn't get along. Not going to call him up by name. You can look it up if you want to, but we didn't get along, okay? We had some altercations on the sidelines. If you're at any of the Chiefs preseason games, number 2 or number 3, you saw me and him feuding on the sidelines. It was about playing time and scheme and things like that. I just wasn't happy. That's okay, though, because he's my position coach.
I don't know
okay?
why you defended Jalen Ramsey all these times.
But that's okay, because he's my position coach, though, Brent, right? Like, was he in the right? Was he in the wrong? It doesn't really matter. And, yeah, the environment in the defensive line may have not been the best, but my defensive line coach wasn't running the show. Andy Reid was. So when Tom Coughlin comes here and he does all these things, like this wouldn't be uncommon to me. For instance, if a defensive line coach said, you know what, if you're late to a meeting, I'm fining you this much. If you sit on the bench, I'm fining you this much. Because I've had it told to me before from a defensive line coach's perspective. But when you have the guy, the vice president of operations who's running the show, who's supposed to establish the culture, when that's the kind of mindset you bring and you're supposed to be like the leader in that stadium, well, that's the problem then, okay? It's okay to have a subordinate who kind of rules that way. But you can't have the guy who's put in charge of winning football games, a guy who's in charge of changing the culture, act like that. And that's what happened with Tom Coughlin. Everything changed around him, and he refused to change, and he refused to adapt.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm trying to get back to he did change, though. He adapted in New York a little. And so, like, he did. Like, I mean, read the articles about it.
Sure.
See the Super Bowls about it. That's why they won. I mean, it's not the only reason they won. I mean, shoot, David Tyree makes a great catch.
They had a pretty talented roster, too.
They did. They built a roster, but you still don't do those things and win big if you don't respect the coach and you somehow come to you're all on one page.
Yeah.
You can't win in this league if you're not on one page.
That's true.
And the bottom line in this building is it's crystal clear now, and maybe last year, and maybe they got away with it to a degree in 17, but definitely this year, that they are not on the same page in that building. Not at all. I mean, that is fact. That is just as plain old fact right now. So my point is he was this way, and he was successful this way, but he wasn't ultra successful that way until he changed around and he noticed the players were a little different and he got feedback from the players. Well, here we are 10 years later, he comes to Jacksonville, and it's almost like that didn't happen. This is Jacksonville. They don't act that way. That was New York, man. That's the big time. That's the big market. That's the Michael Strahans of the world, the Eli Mannings, the Tiki Barbers. Those are those kind of players.
Sure.
Not here, man. We got a bunch of 23, 24-year-old guys. They're not like that. So I'm
Younger
going
guys.
back to it's my college ways. It's my for lack of a better word, dictatorship kind of ways.
Sure.
You know, I'm ruling with the iron fist, and we're going to teach
I'm going to try
guys.
to forge leadership. I'm going to try to forge guys to be captains on this football team.
Yeah, and listen, I'm always a little aware of this. I'm not here to tell you that players at 24 years old, yourself included, in that preseason game 2 and 3, are smarter than the coach who's been doing it for 30 years.
Correct.
Me at 24 years old in my business, I might have thought I was smarter than everybody, but I know I wasn't. That guy that's been in the business for 15, 20 years probably knows a little bit more than me. So, but you still have to learn how to make it a great situation for those 23, 24-year-old guys. Get the most out of those 23-year-old, 24 guys. Nobody goes to work pissed off and performs at their best. Nobody does. It doesn't happen. You can't. You're not in the right frame of mind. You don't want to be there. To create that kind of atmosphere is not a good atmosphere. That doesn't mean you don't call somebody in your office for sitting on the bench and be like, hey, the next time this happens, you know, you're one of the leaders, you're one of the faces of our franchise. Next time this happens, I'm fining your ass. Now, I don't know if it's $99,000, but we had Leonard on the other day, remember now, and we didn't ask him about that because I learned about it later on.
Sure.
But he did say the money is outrageous in terms of the fines, and that's obviously what he was referring to.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And Dante Fowler Jr. and the $700,000, but he was referring to that especially. That $99,000 for sitting on the bench when you're inactive. And I asked somebody, I was like, "Well, is that uncommon? Like, if you don't like the way a player did something, can you fine him? Can you slap a fine?" I'm like, "Well, you can, but nobody in the NFL would fine anybody for being inactive and sitting on the bench." Again, for a bad look, you might pull them into your office, but you're not going to fine them $99,000 for that. So that's this whole segment to me is this whole Tom Coughlin thing is if it works so well in New York to win Lombardis.
Yeah.
Why didn't you go about it the same way and have this give and take with the players? Because it's certainly apparent you didn't have give and take. And one last thing, you have to be all on the same page is important here. Because I get the feeling that Doug Marrone is a former player. Doug Marrone, who actually comes from that iron fist, coaching tree.
Sure.
So he believes in some of that. He believed, I think, in that hard training camp. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. He believed in that discipline. But I'm not sure he would have believed in a $99,000 fine for Leonard Fournette. Maybe he did. Maybe he signed off on it. Maybe he suggested it. I just have a hard time believing he did. So if you're not, yes, okay, you have the boss man who can give that. But wouldn't you also want to be in line if you're Coughlin, Caldwell, and Marrone saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. We all agree? I just get the sense that wouldn't have happened. They didn't agree. They weren't all in line. This was just one guy from the corner office making that call and therefore putting, again, his head coach potentially in a tough spot with not just the one player we're talking about, but with numerous players in that locker room and creating this kind of culture.
So here's the issue with the Tom Coughlin coming from New York and then going to Jacksonville, and it was about a decade or so of difference. And when you look at those New York teams, Brent, those super talented teams, yes, they were talented, but you know what? They were also close. I think you can attest to that. Like the guys, I think of the defensive line, they each had each other's back, but I think the whole team, as a cohesive unit, had each other's back. And that's the trend in the NFL. And that's what wins championships. Sometimes the most talented team does not win a Super Bowl. Usually it's the team.
Absolutely.
Usually it's the team who's the closest, who gels the most, who meshes the most.
Peaks at the right time.
Exactly.
Gets
Peaks
a little lucky.
Time. Yeah. There's always a little luck involved, and that's with anything. That's with any business. But with Tom Coughlin, in football, it's crazy, Brent, because there's always something new, right? Like there's the Ravens of this year.
Yes.
There's the Rams of last year. And what do teams have to do? They have to adapt. Last year, the Patriots adapted of how to beat the Rams, right? They threw out this new defense, this 3-3-5. They were jamming the corners, and they shut down the Rams defense. And ever since then, the Rams have looked pretty pedestrian, okay? Now people are trying to stop the Ravens offense. Will they do it? We'll see. But my point is people are always adapting, and you have to adapt because that's the way the NFL works. So if you adapt on offense and you adapt on defense and you even adapt on special teams, you also have to adapt in the locker room, and you have to adapt to understanding your players. And what we have here is Tom Coughlin in a front office who, for whatever reason, cannot relate to the players, whether it's stubbornness, whether it's not being willing to just go out there and put yourself out there for people to see, whatever it is, but they cannot relate to the players. And when you do that cohesiveness, that team bonding, it's not there.
I'm working on something for both TV and radio for probably after the season because I just haven't had time to do enough of the work. But I'm working on something that the Jaguars, in my opinion, have been a day late and a dollar short on a lot of their moves, on a lot of their approach. It's like they get things when, it's already moved past them. And I brought this up a little bit, I think, last week. Even Gus Bradley, when you hire Gus Bradley, how do you not start building your defense? He's a defensive-minded guy. They waited 3 years to build the defense around a defensive-minded coach.
Sure.
Was that the right way to go? And by that time, was it the right defense and all this stuff? And offensively, Bortles fits into this. Were they not enough of a visionary to see, okay, this was probably a one-off thing? Well, hindsight says they didn't see that.
Yeah.
Whether you had reasons, I get the reasons. But in this business, you have to be ahead of the curve. And the Jaguars seem to be on the back end of the curve on a lot of these things. So I'm not going to go into that because I'm not ready to completely in terms of the full landscape. This decade is kind of where I'm looking at. But there are some illustrations that is true. And one of them I think the irony here is I think Shad Khan is one of the great visionaries that I've been around. Look at it. Look what he's done.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And look what I think he might do with the city and the stadium a little bit.
Yeah.
And those, we can agree or disagree or whatever.
Well, yeah.
But I believe Shad Khan, from a visionary standpoint, is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But what's weird is you might have hired guys that are not, or on the wrong side of that curve.
Sure.
Not completely whiffing, but not on cutting edge.
Yeah.
And even though they tried to bring some analytics and things like that into the equation. But my point of this is something I've said a lot about Tom Coughlin. When Jalen Ramsey or a Telvin Smith or heck, a Leonard Fournette walks down the hallway in Jags headquarters, They just say, hey, what's up, man? He's 50 years older than them. Do they respect what he's done? He's won? Yeah. But they also really don't care.
Of course.
When a sales guy or somebody who works for the Jags reveres Tom Coughlin, people in town, some revere Tom Coughlin, what he's done, they stand up straight. It's the coach. How you do? You know, they're like, that's like, whoa, that's Tom Coughlin.
Yep.
There is a difference. Is my point.
And one quick point, you brought up Gus Bradley, right, the ultimate players coach coming from Seattle. The players respected him, but they didn't win ball games. Why? Because the leadership was not in place here. You have Doug Marrone, who is the old school philosophy, comes in and this year goes to the players, right? He's more of the players coach. He respects the players. It makes you wonder where if Doug Marrone saw this whole thing coming from the front office saying, you guys are ruling a little bit too hard with an iron fist, I have to do what I can and try to make this more of a players-friendly environment, because if I don't, we're going to lose the team. Unfortunately, you lost the team regardless. But maybe this was Doug Marrone's last lifeline saying, you know what? I don't like how the front office is running things in the culture. I have to do what I can to try to at least save this whole thing.
It's a really good point, and it segues us right into the next segment. Could Doug Marrone be saving his job because of the mistakes Tom Coughlin has now made and it's out in the public? Could that at all cross your mind? Could it cross Shad Khan's mind? Because I thought it was a clean sweep, and I still do. But I'm starting to think a little bit more about Doug Marrone and the way he's handled this whole situation. Should we even entertain it? Next on ESPN 690. Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and, of course, on CBS 47 and Fox 30. If you catch us on the radio, hopefully you tune in 3 until 6, Monday through Friday. And you can catch us on TV on the weekend as well. Saturday and Sunday nights, Action Sports Jax primetime. The entire Action Sports Jax team, including Stuart Weber and Marcel Robinson, on Saturday nights. 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47, Action Sports Jax primetime. And during the week on ESPN 690.
Luxury begins at the door of Atlantic Infinity with your concierge, no-pressure customer experience.
Only one Atlantic Infinity.
Experience the wave of luxury in person at 10980 Atlantic Boulevard or at atlanticinfinity.com.
Lowe's helps pros like you get the job done right, on time, and on budget, because we stock the brands you trust to power through any job, and it's savings too. Stop in today and pick up a DeWalt Tough Grip 110-piece screwdriver bit set for $28 less, now just $21.98. And get a Paz-Load cordless framing nailer for $100 less, now $299. Save time by ordering at lowesforpros.com and have your order delivered. For the brands you rely on every day to do the job right, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid 12/19 to 12/24 U.S. only.
Before I got married, my dad told me, happy wife, happy life.
Really? Mine told me, get her bling, you'll be king.
That man's a genius.
The clock's ticking till Christmas, and your JCPenney associate will help you find the perfect gift. JCPenney Rewards members get select diamond jewelry for $25 each, or get an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon. Use it to get 70% off select gold and silver jewelry. JCPenney. Offers valid 12/19 to 12/24. Credit offer subject to credit approval. $25 jewelry excluded from coupons and rewards. Other exclusions apply. See jcp.com for coupon and details.
Hey guys, this is Allie McDeal from both Best Bet Card Rooms. Best Bet's annual Winter Poker Series will be starting on January 17th at our Jacksonville location. With 12 poker events, the Best Bet Winter Poker Series has something for everyone, including the main event featuring an $1,100 buy-in with a $200,000 guaranteed prize pool. Whether you're looking for a low-limit or a high-limit event, the Best Bet annual Winter Poker Series will have a seat for you this January. Experience the best at Best Bet Jacksonville.
Sí, very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
He just had arguably the coolest moment of his professional career ruined by this group of Jets.
It's the greatest weekend of my life. It's a dead show, followed by the weigh-in with Masvidal, followed by another dead show. The greatest weekends I've ever had in my life always end the same way, with me having to watch that team.
The Dan Le Batard Show with the Stuttgarts on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Hey, I'm Jay DeMarcus from Rascal Flats, and this is Action Sports Jax.
During the season, that happens quite a bit that I may not, like after a football game, I feel very comfortable answering any question. I feel very comfortable answering any questions about Atlanta. There's some things that occur that I don't have all the information. I'm aware of it, but I don't feel comfortable getting up in front of people and speaking on behalf of whatever situation it is. So it's not they do their thing, I do my thing. Obviously, with what's happening, obviously the season, I put it on me, and but we're all in this thing.
yeah, well, maybe not for much longer. And Doug Marrone kind of wavered at the end there, I think, in that, we're all in this thing because we have to be. Yeah. Not really because we want to be. You brought up a good point before the last break, and that is, did Doug Marrone see that this was really a problem spot with this football team and therefore say, I'm doing it my way? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the reasons were, but it's crystal clear. He said, I'm doing things my way. Yeah. And I don't want to go as far. I don't want to be disrespectful and say he just went into across the hall and been like, hands up and you know what. Yeah. But I think he did basically say, listen, I have all the respect for you in the world, TC. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going down and this is what these players are telling me and this is how I think they're going to respond, I'm doing it my way. Well, I'm not just following a playbook that maybe now might be 25 years old.
And here's the crazy thing, Brent, because Doug Marrone was a former player, so he gets it. He gets how locker rooms work. He gets how practices work and things like that. So to say Doug Marrone did it his way, I don't even know if that's 100% true. I don't know if Doug Marrone said, you know what, I'm going to take it easy on the training camp practices. I'm going to, earn the players' respect. It might have just been a case where it's like, well, I want to do things a certain way, but I have to go above and beyond to try to make these players happy because it's so bad from the culture standpoint. And if I don't do that, I'm going to lose them. So I agree with you saying, well, did he do things his way? Maybe, but maybe it was so drastic and he didn't even want to go that drastic, but he had to just to try to salvage a season and obviously a situation with culture problems.
All right, so here's the question I want to get into. You believe Doug Marrone's gone, right, in a year?
Correct.
I do, too. I think it's a clean sweep, and I have said that for a long time. Nothing this week has changed that. Yeah. Nothing in the last couple weeks. I mean, I feel like you can go back to 3 weeks ago, and I think it's been clean sweep. Now, and there are a lot of people, I'll tell you, there are a lot of folks I talk to in and around the Jags that don't agree with me.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of the players wouldn't either, right? I think the players respect him, and the players, when he does get fired, like I think it's going to happen, I think you're going to hear a lot of outcry from his former players. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing with Gus Bradley. A lot of players didn't want to see Gus Bradley go, but this is a performance-based business, and unfortunately, Jacksonville Jaguars have not been performing. Yeah,
and I think by the time Gus got out of here, I think they got it so much, and they were like, well, it just hasn't worked. It's run 4 years, and it's not. Maybe we do need something else. And again, I mean, Coughlin and Marrone, and they walked into a situation where they got some more players. They hit in free agency. They got a quarterback who played his best football of his life, and they also had a hungry football team because they were so tired of the bad years with Gus. No doubt about it. And I'm not taking anything away from them. They deserve everything they got for 2017. If there's anybody that waves the 2017 flag more than anyone else, it would be me. I don't lose sight of that. And it might be selfish, but I've been through 12 of these now, and 11 of them, people have been out of it by December. That was a fun year. You're not taking 17 away from me. I mean, you're not. Yeah. And it's hard in the NFL, but I'm going to enjoy 17 if you don't mind. It was 1 out of 12.
As you should.
Now, what I'd like to see is 1 out of 3, maybe, or even a 1 out of 4 ratio, not 1 out of 12. And so that's my concern. It's where is this organization headed? What is going to salvage this organization? What's going to change it? How do they get out of this Browns, Raiders, Jags, Bills to a degree? They look like they're pulling out of it. Kind of cycle. How do you change that cycle when you are bad and perennially bad? But the thought now, with all this Tom Coughlin stuff coming out, is Doug Marrone standing up there with a shield, essentially, on the Jalen Ramsey stuff, on this kind of stuff, on everything that's going on in the building, on shouting down the hallway and saying, somebody please help me. And it seems like he's being left out to dry at times. Does he have any chance to save his job here? If you're Shad Khan and anybody else making these decisions, do you look at Doug Marrone and be like, man, we put that guy in a tough spot to succeed? And we didn't realize it maybe at the time that it was this tough because 17 was great. But with everybody pointing fingers at each other and you're not working cohesively with everybody else, is that on us more than it's on Doug? And do you give him another chance? Again, I'm not advocating this. I'm just saying, does that come to your mind a little bit? Watching Doug in these news conferences, it kind of does. It did for me today. Yeah. It's like, do I have to think about that a little bit?
So I guess the sunshine and rainbows in me, and that's from hanging out with you a lot, I guess, Brent. From that standpoint, I would want to say, yeah, maybe he does have a chance, right? Like, the players respect him. I think he's a good dude. Obviously, this is not all his fault, but I'm also a realist, and I'm more of a black and white type of person. I tell it how it is. And when you're talking about, does Doug Marrone have a chance to save his job? I say absolutely not, because if he did have a chance to save his job, the number one thing he would have to have going forward is respect from the front office. And every time Doug Marrone goes out there and has to answer questions that are not in his job description, he has to stand in front of the firing line and answer questions that he shouldn't have to answer. To me, that's a sign that you don't respect your coworker, you don't respect somebody who works from you, and the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, listen, I think the biggest reason why, first of all, Doug Marrone, in my opinion, I want to go, I've got to be as transparent as I can be in what I said. I don't want to be hypocritical. 8 weeks into this thing at 4-4, going to London, I said, I think this guy's done an admirable job. Great job.
Yeah, everybody was healthy. You had what you wanted.
He got everybody healthy.
Yeah.
It looked like the players had responded. He lost his starting franchise quarterback, $88 million man. He put up with the Jalen Ramsey stuff for 3 weeks, which was not an easy thing to navigate. And by the way, that wasn't on him. Mm-hmm. That was obviously on somebody above him. Yeah. It now is crystal clear, and it was even then. So he lost his best football player, you could argue, and traded him away. So at 4-4, I thought, man, he has put this team in a position, and that's all you want in the NFL going into the final 2 months. But what I don't understand are two things. How you lose 9 in a row in the NFL last year, even if you're beat up, and how you lose 5 in a row with a healthy roster the way the Jaguars did this year. Mm-hmm. And so my transparency is, yes, as I said, Doug, I thought did a great job through 8 games. Well, it's apparent that whatever he tried to do backfired because he got nothing out of the football team over the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, I give him credit again for keeping it together enough to at least get this performance on last Sunday, but it's over and done with by now. Just doesn't matter anymore. So that's why I think he'll lose his job more so than, well, he was put in an unfair situation. Let's see if he can give it a go again. I think this will be a clean sweep. And by the way, I think he might be a little bit of casualty of war here because I think they have to change things up top. And I think if you are going to make a change in the structure of your organization, if you're going to make a front office change, well, you have to clean sweep this thing essentially because you can't put somebody else, you can't go hire people and say, you have to work with this guy. You have to work with that guy. It's not a good recipe to go get the best candidate possible. No. It just isn't. So you have to start it all over and start from scratch and dig this thing out of the hole and hopefully find a star. And I don't think Doug Marrone's a bad coach. I actually don't think Dave Caldwell's a bad GM. And I sure as hell don't think Tom Coughlin's a bad coach. I think guys should go to Canton, Ohio as a coach. I just don't think this setup is sustainable. And it's proven not to be. It can't be sustained. And so when it's not going to be, you can't replace one or the other and put this into that. That's not how it works. This isn't plugging in a backfield. Mm-hmm. You know, this is plugging in a systematic thing. And they have to change a systematic thing. And so, therefore, I think Doug Marrone's going to be out of a job, even though I think there might be some other people around the league that will look at him and be like, you know, he did a pretty good job in that situation. You really did. And could that mean an opportunity down the road? Maybe. But honestly, I don't think Doug Marrone was getting another opportunity in the near future until Tom Coughlin and the Jags gave him that chance 3 years ago. So it'll be interesting around Marrone. But again, I applaud how he's handled a lot of this. This has been a tough thing to handle. He's getting paid a few $1 million too now. He's a big boy. Yeah. He can handle some of it. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily feel bad for him. Yeah. I just don't think he's been put in the best situation possible as a head coach.
Yeah. You know, and I think if you're following the situation closely or if there's rumblings around the league with the inner circles, I think everyone understands that this is not all Doug Marrone's fault. But here's the thing, Brent. Unfortunately, when you're the head coach, it's directly correlated to the record, okay? And this record this year has been underachieving. And I've been on record saying, and I'll say it again, I think this is the most disappointing season in Jaguars history. Now it's starting to become really the disappointing season, not only on the field, but off the field as well, obviously. So when you have that, and unfortunately, a record doesn't really get tied to a GM, a record doesn't get tied to the vice president of operations, and sometimes a record doesn't even get tied to the owner. The record is a direct correlation of the NFL head coach. And this year, the Jaguars have not been winning a lot. So unfortunately, when the things are put in place, and Shad Khan came out last year and said that, there's going to be changes if things don't change. Well, things haven't really changed that much. The Jaguars have still lost a lot of games. So unfortunately, Doug Marrone's got to be the guy to go.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. Again, I believe fully it'll be a clean sweep. There's not everybody that agrees with me there, and we don't know what Shad Khan's thinking. And so the last thought of this, at least for right now, and we've got some other things to get to, is the Shad Khan angle. I heard you start the show with Shad Khan, and I know people have talked about Shad Khan. People want to hear from Shad Khan. You're not going to hear from Shad Khan for another couple of weeks. And I don't know if that will be on a piece of paper in front of a microphone or not. It's happening in a couple of weeks, I fully believe. Might be Sunday night after the final game against Indianapolis. But it's not happening anytime soon on this front. A little more on that. Is that the right move? But why that might be the case? I'll try to shed some light on that coming up next on ESPN 690.
Very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
How have binoculars and just the general discomfort that comes with using binoculars, how have we not improved that?
The Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
If you're tired of wearing glasses or contact lenses, call Meta Vision at Florida Eye Specialist, 268-EYES. They believe when it involves your eyes, you deserve the very best. Just ask golf professional Todd Bork.
I thought about LASIK for years, and I just finally got to the point where I'm getting older and I'm frustrated. I'm wearing distance glasses. Now it's raining, and that just doesn't work at all. I've tried contacts and failed miserably. Can't get them in and out of my eyes. So I just said, you know what? I'm not able to read the greens the way I think I need to. I want to do this for my golf and for myself. But I'm thrilled that I had it done. I can actually see to drive without glasses, and I can see the golf ball, and that's very important to me.
See why thousands of patients have chosen Meta Custom Vision and Florida Eye Specialist for their eyes. Call 268-EYES or online at metalaser.com. Hurry before your HSA or Flex spending accounts expire at the end of the year. Your eyes deserve the very best. Meta Custom Vision at Florida Eye Specialist. 268-EYES.
Are you looking for the best wings around? I found the place. Listen up. Hey, everyone. It's Brent Martineau. Mr. Chubby's Wings is awesome. 2 locations, the West Side and in Fleming Island. They are a part of the community, too. Mr. Chubby's Wings wants to wish all of the high school teams good luck this fall. They've been supporting youth athletics for a decade. Get ready for the game at Mr. Chubby's. Celebrate the big win at Mr. Chubby's. Chub it up with the best wings around. Mr. Chubby's Wings on the West Side and in Fleming Island.
Small business owners, it's been a great year, and now it's time to begin to make some end-of-year decisions. Instead of giving your hard-earned money to the tax man, consider reinvesting in your business with a quality pre-owned truck, van, or commercial work vehicle from Jacksonville Truck Center. With the largest selection of pre-owned work vehicles in North Florida and easy commercial financing, let us be your one-stop shop to get the job done today. We're on the corner of Arlington Expressway and Southside Connector. Stop by today or visit us at jacksonvilletruckcenter.com.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. 3 Oklahoma Sooners are suspended for the upcoming Peach Bowl against LSU. Defensive end Ronnie Perkins, running back Ramondre Stevenson, and wideout Trajan Bridges will miss the college football playoff semifinal a week from Saturday. Eagles linebacker Kamu Grugier-Hill goes on injured reserve, ending his season with a back injury that will need surgery. In Week 13, Grugier-Hill did not tell the team about a head injury, saying he hurt his shoulder so he could stay in the game. He ended up missing Week 14 with a concussion. The 6-8 Browns will host the AFC-leading Ravens on Sunday. Browns wideout Odell Beckham Jr. says today he wants to stay in Cleveland for next season. Former Browns coach Hugh Jackson on what has gone wrong with the team's offense.
The quarterback hadn't played as well as I think he's capable of playing. They have not had the chemistry worked out between the receivers and the quarterback.
Hugh Jackson on Golick and Wingo. College basketball triple header starting at 7 Eastern on ESPN2, number 1 Tennessee at Cincinnati.
Worried about finding the perfect gift this holiday? We've got you covered, because when you give the gift of Peloton, you're giving the gift they're guaranteed to love with efficient, high-intensity cardio workouts right at home all year long. For more details, see onepeloton.com.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jax.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio. This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
The big thing is that, the union is supposed to protect the players and make sure the guys are, just looked after and have a place where you can, have some security. And so, getting the money back and making sure, the player is represented right, that's the ideal goal, But for me, I had a great time. Jacksonville's been a great place for me. I have a great experience here. With the organization, the front office, the coaching staff. I mean, it's been a great run for me, so, I'm definitely happy to be here.
Did Calais Campbell just say he's not coming back?
What's up, man? You giving out your retirement speech? What's going on right now, dude?
I mean, boy, that's fresh off the presses there. Back from the locker room, Marcel Robinson was there, and players are reacting to it. We'll hear from A.J. Boye in a bit, also Avery Jones in a bit. And I understood. I mean, I think Calais is a guy that has had a good experience. And, of course, he's a player that you're probably not going to get too many fines for.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
A little bit of this is, what happens in these kind of situations, like, well, you can do everything the right way, and then you don't get fined.
Yeah.
That's a possibility, right?
Of course.
It's like the kid in school that's parents come in, complain because the punishment was too harsh.
Yeah.
Because he screwed up.
But to be fair with Dante Fowler, though, Brent, I mean, they were breaking the CBA rules.
That's fair. True.
Good
point.
That's the
good catch.
Yeah, you're breaking the rules there.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
Yeah,
that's true.
Hey, here I am taking the player side again. What else is new, right?
No, but that was good. That's true. That actually was the foundation of this letter.
Correct.
So that's a very fair point.
Yep.
But when you're talking about some of these other things, when you get fined, I always thought that was I've said this before. Gus Bradley on his way out. See, people get fined all the time. Most people, I would say, if you ask the public, people listen to this show, know the Jags and talk about the Jags and follow the Jags, they'd say, man, Gus Bradley probably never fined anybody. That is so not true. So not true. Because I asked him about it one time, just privately, not on the record, but it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, because the big narrative at the time was there's no accountability and there's no this and that. Well, it went from that to a guy finding people $100,000 for sitting on the bench when you're inactive. So it's wild, It
is.
It's a really wild scene how much it was a 180, and even on the lower approach of that, you're still seeing fines probably around every NFL team for hundreds of thousands of dollars, which also isn't a bad thing because those go to charity, right?
Yeah, of course. Yep. Yeah,
the fines do go to
they
charity.
do. Yes.
So.
That's
a very nice donation.
It's a good cause. It's not going to someone's pockets.
Now, let me ask you this. Can you write that off?
Well, you know what? I never got fined in my entire career in the NFL, so I couldn't tell you. But maybe going forward, maybe I should, if I would have slacked off a little bit, maybe I could have wrote it off and not had to worry about it so much.
One thought, I mean, did you hear that the way I did too?
Yeah.
Calais?
Yeah.
Which I think he knows the business so much. I've talked to him a little bit about this, but not a lot. I think it's coming up in a couple of weeks where I'll talk about it a little bit more. I don't know if he's going to be willing to take a pay cut. They are not going to pay him $15 million, I don't believe. But we talked about this last week, said, hey, don't you really have to consider, maybe this was even Monday, you got to consider keeping guys like this around because when you got rid of the Mercedes Lewis's, a lot cheaper. When you got rid of Darryl Smith, a lot cheaper. When you got rid of those players, that hurt the franchise. And now Puz, who went out on his own, it's hurt the franchise, losing Puz, losing some of that stability. Well, Calais is one of those guys. And so you have to seriously consider trying to keep this guy any way you can. But I'm not sure if it makes monetary sense to keep him at $15 million, given the Jaguars' current situation. I mean, we'll explore that more. But you almost get the sense that, hey, I'm due to make this, and if I don't make this, then I'll go find another team.
You're
That's what it sounded like from Calais, and he knows the business very well.
He does know the business well, and I think we both agree. I mean, this guy's going to the Pro Bowl this year, okay?
Yeah, and congratulations to that part of it. We'll get into that a little bit later.
It's a great honor for him. And I think that the new regime coming in, yes, they probably won't pay him $15 million a year, but I think they have to give everything in their power to try to keep him, because it's like we saw with Gus Bradley. When they let the Darryl Smiths go, when they let them, Mercedes Lewis's walk, that affected the culture of the locker room, and it affected the leadership of that locker room. And then the last thing you want to do as a new regime coming in, kind of having to start from scratch again, is, pulling guys in that aren't familiar with how the Jacksonville Jaguars do things. Now, granted, they've done things bad way this year, but I'm saying that have just been around the locker room, have been around the city. That can make a difference between having a leadership to take you on a playoff run and having a leadership that's just going to, have you win 5-6 games a year.
I think you need some of those foundation pieces.
You absolutely do.
Because this team certainly has shown. Now, Leonard Fournette's grown up a lot, but this team, I'm still not sure where, Miles Jack is in the growing up process. I'm not. I mean, he hasn't had a good year. He got paid, didn't have a good year. Your biggest fear is you pay guys and they don't do well. I mean, where is this team from a maturity level? And, I'm just kind of calling out Miles in that situation. I don't know what he's like day to day. I'm not sure. I'm just saying he didn't live up to the contract. Guys like Calais lived up to the contract. There's a lot of people that believe you can pay Yannick Ngakoue and he'll live up to that contract because he's got that chip. It's built in, and it's not just to get another deal. That chip will be that big when he's 75 years old. Yeah. So I just don't know if this locker room is. They talk about it being young. Guys like Foles and guys like Calais and guys have seen other places. They still talk about it being young. I don't think about this locker room being young anymore. I mean, these guys are past the young stage.
Yeah.
They have some young players, but every team does. So I don't know where it's at and how much you need these guys around, but you need some of those guys around is my point, and Calais would be a good one to keep around for a variety of reasons, including Jaguars All Access. Why do you think Shad Khan needs to talk? Why are you so adamant about it? Why right now is my point. He is going to say something at some point, but why right now? What would it remedy if you were his PR guy saying, hey, man, we got to do this? Listen, this is not a good look. I get that.
Yeah.
But why right now?
There's so many reasons, Brent. Where do I start? Number one, we've seen it today. Remember when Jalen Ramsey was doing his thing and everyone was worried, was that going to be a distraction for the team? Right? And then everyone's worried about, now players got to answer Jalen Ramsey questions. Well, in a locker room setting, when the media was asking questions, they may have asked one or two Jalen Ramsey questions to each player. But I guarantee, and I wasn't there today, but I can guarantee that locker room today, when the media was in there, all it was NFLPA, NFLPA, NFLPA. That's all it was. Nobody cares about the Atlanta Falcons, and I get it. The season's over. You're not going to the playoffs. But if it's me, if I'm a player in that locker room, I'm still trying to win games. I'm still trying to fight for a job. And now instead of focusing on the task at hand, I have to answer these NFLPA questions. Why? Because nobody from the organization has come out and put a statement. So now it falls on the coach and Doug Marrone, and it falls on the players to try to justify what happened. And to me, that's not fair. So that's one reason. Another reason why. The NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, that players like me put in, that basically implemented to have our backs, that we listen to. Now, we may not always agree. Some of the lockout things that we got, maybe we don't agree with. But at the end of the day, in a crazy, chaotic environment, in a crazy, chaotic profession, the NFLPA is going to always be that beacon that we go to. If we have a question, if we need support, the NFLPA is there. So we take them very seriously, and we take their thoughts very seriously. So when they come out and say that they would advise against players signing to go to that team, well, number one, former players like me see that, but also current players that are maybe coming up on a free agent deal, they see that as well. And if that's not bad enough, where the NFLPA puts out a letter, guess what, Brent? Especially in 2019, players talk. And I don't mean players talk in the locker room. I say players talk from team to team to team. So now word is getting out how the Jacksonville Jaguars run things, and it's not a good sign. And players are hearing, the free agent players are hearing, you know what, Jacksonville, man? I don't want to go there. You hear what they're doing over there in Jacksonville? No, man, I'm going to go someplace else. Now I get your point. Money talks, though, right?
It does.
And players are always going to go where the most money is. And
Malik Jackson was going where the most money is.
And from that standpoint,
Calais Campbell could have gone home to Denver. Still went where the money was.
Correct. And from that standpoint, I do agree with you, Brent. But if you look at, successful teams in the NFL, Super Bowl winning teams, sometimes it's a difference between one free agent signing and not having that free agent signing. And from that standpoint, where there's that one free agent signing that the Jaguars are trying to cater to, that are trying to coax into coming to Jacksonville, Say you offer him another $2 million more than any other team. Well, maybe that $2 million isn't enough. Maybe that $2 million for that player will be like, well, it's a good deal. They want me the most, obviously, because they're paying me the most, but an extra $2 million, is it worth going there with all that crap going on? No, I'm going someplace else. So from a competitive standpoint, I think if you're Shad Khan, you have to come out and say something. And at the end of the day, I just list a couple examples. The biggest one to me, if you're a businessman and someone attacks your brand, for instance, if someone was going to come out and say, you know what, don't listen to ESPN 690. Go listen to someplace else. Don't listen to us. I would come out, and I'm a co-host. I don't run the show, but I'm a co-host. I would come out, and I would defend it. I would say something, you know what? I'd be like, you know what? You guys are wrong. You can have your opinions, but you're wrong, and here's why. And then I'll list out facts of why those people are wrong. Why? Because it's my brand. I believe in it, and I'm passionate about it. I love doing what I do here. Well, Shad Khan's got to do the same thing, Brent, because right now he's under attack, and the whole world is watching. And there's silence coming from Jaguars headquarters.
Okay, so here's what I think's happening. I've known Shad Khan since 2012.
Yeah.
I say that like it's a big name drop. Like, yeah, I spent time on the Kismet with Shad Khan. No, that's not the case. But seriously, we've been around Shad Khan. I've done plenty of interviews, one-on-one interviews, sit-down interviews, decent amount of time, enough to at least know how he operates.
Sure.
Okay? And I think if you look at his track record, first of all, he's an unbelievable businessman, so he understands how it works. And this is not his only big business. It's his most high-profile business, but it's not his only big business.
And to be fair, a lot of owners have that same kind of streak, right?
So,
I mean, they have a lot of businesses.
And I'm not saying you can't treat one different than the other, but I do think right now it's a very hot, emotional time. And I think his play is to stay away from the emotion, because you can't win against emotion if you're in his spot. You're just going to get the backlash. First of all, everybody's pissed off because they stink. Secondly, everybody's pissed off at Tom Coughlin right now and all this other stuff. And so I think him sitting back is a little bit of, let's let this simmer down. Let's collect our thoughts and give the best way to go about it instead of be reactionary. Okay, so he's shown this patience anyway with some of his coaches, with some of the situations. It's not like he talked 3 days after the Jalen Ramsey situation. He let that thing play out for 2.5, 3 weeks before he finally said, all right, I got to step in here.
Sure.
See my point?
I do, but this is different though than Jalen Ramsey thing.
But he
Brent.
knows the finish line is coming in a couple weeks here as
but
well.
Brent, that's a couple weeks, man. That's a long time away still.
There's one other element to this then. And I've said this in private a lot. I don't think I've said it on the radio as much. And this goes back to me, this all starts with the Ramsey stuff. But it really starts in 2017. In my view, when you hire Tom Coughlin, you know what the most difficult thing to do is? Fire Tom Coughlin.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
not easy.
There's a reverence around here. And by the way, social media and the younger folks, and we appreciate them. I know you listen to the show and we love it.
It's not everybody, though.
But it's not everybody, okay? So there's a lot of folks that will always love Tom Coughlin for what he did, for what he has done, for what he is as a man, for Tom Coughlin, James, and they should. You know, Tom Coughlin has accomplished a lot. We should always praise Tom Coughlin, in my opinion, for what he did to bring this organization here. And again, I plant that 2017 flag as part of it. He was part of it. Yeah. So I also think you have to know when, okay, it's time. And it obviously is playing out like it's time. But anyway, to go back to the Shad Khan part, I think he hired Tom Coughlin to do all the football things. He's not a football guy. You said it. He's not an X's and O guy. He doesn't want to be Jerry Jones. He doesn't want to be the old Daniel Snyder when he would always chime in on things, right?
Yeah.
He don't want to be that guy. He wants to hire people, let them do their job. You don't hear him on the business side talk a bunch other than the state of the franchise, maybe in London. Mark Lamping talks about that stuff, right?
Correct.
So Tom Coughlin is the guy that he hired to do all that stuff. When he had to jump in on the Ramsey stuff, I think that was a huge black mark against Tom Coughlin. Because the way I view it is, I hired you to do the football stuff, and why do I have to jump in on the football stuff right now? Because it's gotten to this point. That is not a good look for Tom Coughlin. That's my personal belief.
Yeah.
On top of that, I kind of feel like that press conference, I think that was Shad Khan saying, you know what? I had to go help you when you couldn't handle the football stuff. Well, right now, your football team's not very good, and we're not going to have a lot of people in that stadium. And you're going to go out there and try to help us.
Yeah. So you're referring to Tom Coughlin trying to sell tickets more or less.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though that's really not your job. to go sell tickets, but you've put us in a position where it's going to be really hard.
Sure.
So this is just all me talking. I don't have any inside info on it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is my view of it. This is how it went down. And I also think they quite frankly knew that he wasn't going to come off very well in that.
Yeah.
So go back to what I said before. The hardest thing when you hire Tom Coughlin is to fire Tom Coughlin. Well, Tom Coughlin starts looking not so great in that situation. That was a bad 20 minutes for Tom Coughlin in that news conference. Fast forward to Monday when this grievance stuff comes out, and I already believe they're clean sweeping this place anyway. And how they were going to do that with Tom Coughlin, whether it's, hey, resign, or it's time to retire, or we're going to put you in the Pride someday, but we're moving on. We're going to change the structure around. I believe it was happening regardless. How they were going to do it, I don't know. But what this situation does is, again, it kind of hangs Tom Coughlin out there to say, you know what? You're making your own bed here, man. I mean, this is not a good look. But I'm not coming to your rescue. This is on you. I hired you to do it. This is on you. You ran our football stuff, and it looks like you're running it into the ground. So from a public perception point of view, this isn't a good look for Tom Coughlin. So there's a part of me, again, this is all stuff that I've probably said in conversation with folks anyway, but I haven't really put it out there much on the radio side. But that's how I view this whole fall. The Ramsey to that crazy news conference with Coughlin, which why would he ever go out there and do that? You knew it wouldn't go over well. I said at that time you would have been better off putting Gardner Minshew in that situation to sell tickets, even though he wasn't the starting quarterback. And then this situation now. And it's up to Tom Coughlin to come and say something about this and why this is. And I don't think we're going to get it. We haven't got a statement yet. But I'm just telling you, man, the way this is unfolded, I think this is Shad Khan saying, it's your job to do this. It's your job to fix this. It's your job to explain why it's like this. It's not my job right now. I'll do that in 2 weeks when I make some final decisions.
That's well put, Brent. You put that very nicely, but here's my issue with it. Okay. Shad Khan firing Tom Coughlin, yeah, that's obviously a big monumental move. And like you said, Tom Coughlin carries a lot of cachet. But I think even the supporters who maybe aren't on Twitter, who aren't on Facebook, that support Tom Coughlin, I think now, after this has come out, that the Jaguars are essentially cheating, okay? They're cheating. They're breaking the rules. They're breaking the CBA that was put in place to protect players. They're cheating. I think now that's come out, if there was ever a time to fire Tom Coughlin early, it is now, okay? And this isn't me speaking from Austin Lane, ESPN 690 Radio. This is me speaking as a former player, as a former player who I think has a pretty good grasp of how the modern NFL player thinks now. If you do not come out and say something, I'm talking to Shad Khan, if you do not come out and say something right now, and if you do wait 2 more weeks, it is going to hurt your team in the future. Because believe me when I say players talk, not only in the locker room, but they talk around the league. And when you're trying to court new players that come play for you, whether Tom Coughlin is here or not, whether the front office is here or not, it is still going to hurt you. And it is going to leave a black eye on your organization. I promise you that. And this is me being a former player. I'm just being real right now. So the fact that he hasn't come out and said something, it's frustrating to me because I can almost see the crystal ball of what's going to happen in the future if he doesn't. And that's why I'm so frustrated about it, Brent.
But let me say this, okay? You thought at the same time, I think, and I'm not saying you, just some folks thought, hey, come out and talk about Ramsey right now. Fix this thing right now, and it will be fixed. Well, no, it wasn't. He couldn't fix it.
You couldn't fix it, but this is different, Brent. This is on a player scale. This was one player in Jalen Ramsey.
But the thing about it, man, you can't convince me that whatever's happening today on Wednesday, December 18th, compared to December 29th on Sunday in 10 days, that they're going to do a lot more damage. The narrative's out there right now. The only way to fix it is to change the structure, change the organizational structure. Tom Coughlin being a part of that. Yeah. But whether that's Wednesday, December 18th, or Sunday, December 29th, or Monday, December 30th, I have a hard time coming along with, man, he's doing a lot of damage. It's going to hurt you more in the next 10 days.
Brent, I completely disagree with you here, man. Because let's say I mess up and I make a giant mistake, okay? Let's say the next day I don't come out and say anything. And I wait 2 weeks to say something on my mistake. Well, 2 weeks later, I finally come out and I release a press release. Hey, sorry I messed up. It won't happen again. That's not who I am. Well, 2 weeks later, people are going to be like, where was that right away? Okay, and then the same thing can be said for Shad Khan here. You have a chance to control the narrative right now. You don't have to wait 2 weeks for people like me and you and the national media and other football players and the NFLPA to say more things about you. You have a chance right now if you're Shad Khan to come out and say, you know what? This is not who we are as an organization. I do not stand for this, and changes will be made. That's all you got to say. Just that little reassurance, just that little security blanket that's going to help get players to try to believe in your organization again. Because right now I'm here to tell you, you're the laughing stock of the NFL. And the only way to change that is to come out and address it and not wait 2 weeks. Just my opinion, though.
Yeah, speaking of players, hey, Kuz, we had Avery Jones before we had to break. Avery Jones talking in the locker room a short time ago about the NFLPA, about the very thing Austin's talking about, the perception of the Jaguars right now and the culture in the last couple of years. Here's Avery Jones just a short time ago.
I know we want to take care of guys and make sure they get healthy, but, I mean, a lot of guys have the means to get rehab and stuff outside the building, so I don't know what the unnecessary finding was for, but, I mean, it's really going to hurt us, with the kind of down year we had this year. It's going to kind of hurt to bring free agents in with stuff like that going around. But, anybody that's out there just want to know that us players personally, we didn't know anything like that was going on, unfair or finding and anything like that. We have a lot of guys that will stand for guys in the locker room and want to do the right thing. So definitely we'll be checking on that to make sure everyone's good to go and things like that, and just, try to reassure people that, that happened, but, we're still a great organization down here.
That's interesting hearing it from Avery Jones.
Well, but here's Avery Jones trying to defend the organization, saying it's still a great spot, Brent. That's not his job. That's not Avery Jones' job to do that, Brent.
Well, I understand, but he could have lambasted him as well. I mean, this is your time, man. Players want a voice, right? The one thing about players is they don't get much of a voice. In the whole CBA thing, there'll be a couple of guys. Every team has a what's it called?
It's that. Now you put me on the spot. Like the spokesperson. It's like the NFLPA representative. Yes.
And I think Calais is that this year. It changes years to year, but I think Calais.
Well, but players vote on it, and then they elect an official.
Yeah, and Avery might have been it in the past once. I'm not sure. If he has. But Mercedes Lewis, I think, has been in the past.
I wouldn't be surprised if Avery was, just because usually it's the longest tenured player is usually the guy that's
okay. I should know that, by the way, and right now it escapes, but I'm kind of defaulting to Calais on that situation. But anyway, you don't, even in this whole CBA thing, you really don't have much of a vocal voice, a public voice, to go up against the ownership, right? You work for them in each organization. So you're not going to really too often say anything bad about ownership. Across the league. I'm not talking about here in Jacksonville. I'm talking about across the league. Doesn't happen while the people are playing, right? It doesn't seem to it, at least. So this was the time, because everybody's gone. This is the time that if you want to go against the organization, we're going to hear from A.J. Boye in a bit, and he kind of says something along those lines. But if you really wanted to put it to the organization, be like, yeah, this has been unbelievable around here, how bad it is. I don't think Avery Jones had to do what he did. I don't think Calais Campbell had to do what he did in terms of what they said and protecting the organization. And it actually begs the question, listen, even if Avery Jones wasn't going to hammer, and Avery Jones is about as transparent as there is.
Yeah.
What are you shaking your head at?
I'm shaking because I completely disagree with you.
Why not? Why wouldn't they say something?
Because they understand the point, Brent, where it's Calais Campbell and Avery Jones. There's a reason why they're the most tenured Jaguars on the team. Because they know if they speak out against what's going on and they really say what they want to say, it's going to cause more distractions. And more distractions lead to more questions. And more questions leading to not focusing on Atlanta. Okay? So I don't know what Avery thinks. Okay, I think he owes me $50, and we'll get to that later. But I don't know what Avery's thinking.
He might have been fined.
I don't know what Avery's thinking right now. Okay, but I know for sure the fact that he's trying to de-escalate the situation, because coming out and saying, McMahon, yeah, that's BS that they fined Dante Fowler that much money. That's BS that they did this and did this. The more you escalate the situation, the more the distractions become. Hence why when Jalen Ramsey left, there weren't a lot of players that were celebrating, saying, all right, Jalen, we'll see you later. Why? Because then more questions come out of it.
Yeah, I get it. I just think, isn't your first protection to the players? Like
Brent, you're underestimating how much those guys in the locker room want to win a football game and not be distracted.
I guess I am, because to me this isn't about it's bigger picture.
Yeah.
Because I think guys like, especially veteran guys, do have a bigger picture point of view and saying we're going to do what's right for us, for players. I think some players do have that point of view. Guys that were interviewed today, I think they do have that point of view. I understand it's about winning football games too. So what'll be interesting to see if they say it maybe in January. We catch up with them at the Super Bowl in February.
Yeah.
Will they then say stuff, especially if they're not a part of the organization anymore?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe that's when it comes out.
If it was going to come out, which I think some stuff will come out, I bet it's going to come out then.
All right. Let's get to A.J. Boye before we take a break, because he probably was the most vocal about how this looks for the Jags going forward, even though Avery just mentioned free agency too, and said it's not a good thing if you're trying to accumulate players in the offseason.
In the offseason, you have players from other leagues. They come and ask me about the fines. Like, is it true y'all getting fined for stuff like this? And they laugh at us because they think that I'm lying. But now that stuff like this is coming out, it's true. We got fined for it. So maybe we'll fix it ahead of time. But one thing I can say, we get fined here, we learn from it, we try to avoid it from here on out. So.
All
there
right.
you go. But players are laughing at you.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's not a good look, right? Now, I also think you got to be careful to make it Club Med, as everybody always likes to say in the NFL, because I don't know if that works either. You know, again, unless you have some great stability. We talked about it earlier in the show. If you have the Pete Carrolls and Russell Wilson marriage, you can hide and you can create any kind of atmosphere you want. If you have the Belichick and Brady marriage and you're winning football games and the resume says what it says, you can kind of create whatever the heck atmosphere you want. Those are two different atmospheres, and they've created the two different ways, and people buy in because you know why? You've got those two guys in each organization, and you have a lot of W's, plus a Lombardi trophy, at least one of them in Seattle, and many of them now in New England. A.J. Boye had a little bit more, I think, including a situation when he was fined. Here it is.
I think one, but it was more of just miscommunication. You know, that was like in 2017 when we were all coming together. You know, I've been taught not to really go to things that don't work for me, but what don't work for me might work for somebody else, and they're going to force everybody to do it. And I didn't show up because I did something else. So I paid the fine, tried to appeal. I couldn't take it, but I just was like, all right, even though it doesn't benefit me, I'm still going to do it. So.
That's talking about, I think it sounded like an off-season requirement.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a requirement. Maybe you can go get that back.
I'm sure you can. Yeah, get a little Christmas bonus as well. And listen, I get it. It's the day of the outspoken football player and the self-aware football player. But even when I played, and I'm sure it's the same way now, where when you have these grievances, Brent, they're not the easiest just to bring forward to the table, because it's almost showing like, you know what? If I file this grievance, it's showing that I don't agree with the way things are being run, and that can hurt you. That can be detrimental to you in the long run with another team, because word gets out, right? So I think that's kind of what A.J. Boye was getting at a little bit as well.
I think that's a great point. I think, listen, nobody wants to go to HR with a complaint. That's an uncomfortable thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what this is. It's going to HR with a complaint.
Yep.
The only difference is people are getting fined $99,000.
Yep. Or $50 from Avery Jones if you don't pay me pretty soon. It's going to be more.
I think you see the market lately?
You see the interest lately?
Yeah, I think it should be pretty good.
Yeah, let's get it.
You could have made that into at least $58 by now. When we come back, National Signing Day was a big one around here for a couple of quarterbacks, and one of them joins us in studio, fresh off a decision made. We'll talk about it. High school football all the way to the college ranks. How's Florida? Florida State, Georgia, Miami, UCF. Who's winning the day across the country? We'll talk about it on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Cold tonight under clear skies with an inland frost and freeze where temperatures drop into the lower 30s. From the First Alert Weather Center, I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beards Diamonds. Where now through December 24th, get 20% off everything in the store, including loose diamonds, only at Beards Diamonds.
Moscow Ballet's Great Russian Nutcracker dazzles this Christmas. Bring the whole family together for the original holiday tradition. Step into a simpler time filled with sweet dreams and spectacular magic. Experience world-class artists, stunning costumes, and towering puppets on the Gift of Christmas tour. It just wouldn't be Christmas without Moscow Ballet's Great Russian Nutcracker. Get tickets now at nutcracker.com.
Appearing at the Florida Theater December 22nd. Get your tickets today at nutcracker.com.
What's up, everybody? It's Austin Lane on ESPN 690, and I need you, your friends, and family to meet me at the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena Saturday, December 21st for the Jacksonville Icemen's Drive for 10,000 teddy bears. I know what you're thinking, hockey and teddy bears, but check this out. When the Icemen score their first goal, fans will be encouraged to throw their teddy bears and other stuffed animals on the ice. These stuffed animals will then be donated to the Children's Christmas Party of Jacksonville, so thousands of local kids are going to have their holiday shine a little brighter. There is no limit to the amount of stuffed animals that you can bring. This may be the only time where you're actually encouraged to throw things at a sporting event. So let's have some fun. Let's cheer on the Icemen and try to break an ECHL teddy bear toss record, all while doing our part in making sure local kids in need have a special holiday as well. It's the Drive for 10,000 teddy bears supporting the Children's Christmas Party of Jacksonville this Saturday, December 21st. Get your tickets now at jacksiceman.com/teddy19. That's jacksiceman.com/teddy19, and let's put some teddy bears on ice.
If you've been thinking about LASIK, consider Meta Custom Vision at Florida Eye Specialist. Just listen to what golf professional Todd Bork has to say.
I thought about LASIK for years. Part of what I do is play and teach, and it's frustrating to not be able to see. And that led me to go to the 250 place, 250 and I, to where I found out quickly that, well, you're not one of those 250 guys. When I went through all the paces at Meta, and, when you hear somebody, they've done 25,000 cases, and he was one of the pioneers of it, you feel like they kind of know what they're doing. I was told that there was financing options. It included all the follow-ups, and it also included if you had any problems or any tweaks needed to be made, they were all covered.
See why thousands of patients have chosen Meta Custom Vision and Florida Eye Specialist for their eyes. Call 268-EYES or online at metalaser.com. Hurry before your HSA or flex spending accounts expire at the end of the year. Your eyes deserve the very best. Meta Custom Vision at Florida Eye Specialist. 268-EYES.
Hey, this is Taylor Albright with J&M Roofing. You know us. We're the guys with the umbrella, and we've got you covered. We had another great year and helped hundreds of Jacksonville homeowners with roof repairs and replacements. We are now expanding our team. If you have a customer-first, professional sales background, we want to talk to you. We offer the best pay and benefits package in the industry. We only hire the best because our customers deserve that.
Apply online today at JAndMroofing.com. Write it down, JAndMroofing.com.
New flavors and a rating that would make men jealous. Hey, everyone, this is Austin Lane.
And I'm Brent Martineau. Vita de Louis recently got a 98 rating. It's new, and it's getting rave reviews.
Made in Tequila, Mexico, and shipped directly to Jack's Beach. Vita de Louis is available in 3 flavors.
And those flavors are Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo. Try 3. Make your own recipes with Vita de Louis Tequila, one of the smoothest tequilas you will ever taste. For merchandise and more, visit VitaDeLouis.com.
It's holiday time, so treat yourself to some golf or give the gift of golf. Hey everyone, this is Brent Martineau. The Golf Club at Southampton is one of the most fun tracks to play in the area, and it's very affordable. It's the home of the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18 as well. Go to golfsouthampton.com for tee times, gift cards, and gift packages. There are 9 different options to choose from. It's the perfect gift. The gift of golf at Southampton this holiday season. Visit golfsouthampton.com.
Hey guys, this is Allie McDeal from both Best Bet Card Rooms. Best Bet's annual Winter Poker Series will be starting on January 17th at our Jacksonville location. With 12 poker events, the Best Bet Winter Poker Series has something for everyone, including the main event featuring an $1,100 buy-in with a $200,000 guaranteed prize pool. Whether you're looking for a low-limit or a high-limit event, the Best Bet annual Winter Poker Series will have a seat for you this January. Experience the best at Best Bet Jacksonville.
Tax problems can be extremely stressful and cause financial devastation. The tax attorneys at J. David Tax Law are right here in Jacksonville to be your personal advocate and resolve your IRS or state sales tax issues. J. David Tax Law focuses on your needs and case outcomes. Don't be fooled by these big out-of-town tax companies that only focus on getting you to sign up and pay without even working with an attorney. At J. David Tax Law, only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you. Get the help you need with tax debt, payroll taxes, bank levies, wage garnishments, tax liens, and unfiled returns. If you have federal or state sales tax debt, have a sit-down with J. David Tax Law. Your first step is a no-cost consultation. Call J. David Tax Law at 904-507-4777, 904-507-4777. Peace of mind only a click or phone call away, 904-507-4777, or go to jdavidtaxlaw.com.
The most wonderful time of the year deserves the most wonderful sale of the year. And for that, you gotta go see Arlington Toyota, where you can still get huge Toyotathon savings and pay up to 50% less on remaining 2019s. With over 1,000 new and used on the lot every day, that's a whole lot of Toyotathon savings happening right now at Arlington. How about a 2019 Toyota Camry? It's not $19,745. Now it's only $15,581. That's $15,581 for a pre-owned 2019 Toyota Camry at Arlington. Gotta have a 2019 Toyota RAV4? It's not $22,925. No way. Now it's just $19,481. Just $19,481 for a pre-owned 2019 Toyota RAV4 XLE at Arlington. Plus, you're gonna get all the rewards and benefits of the Arlington Toyota $5,000 Advantage Club with your purchase. Toyotathon is on, but it won't last forever. Get in today and pay up to 50% less on remaining 2019s at Arlington Toyota. In person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/Toyotathon for offer details. ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Jake Mitchell. The Jags may have won on Sunday, but they took an L in the latest round of arbitration with the NFLPA. According to a statement released by the NFLPA, in the last 2 years, more than 25% of the grievances filed by players in the entire league have been filed against the Jaguars. There's a new leader in all-time passing touchdowns. Who dat? It's Saints quarterback Drew Brees, who passed Peyton Manning's mark in a blowout win against the Colts last night on Monday Night Football.
Will he get it here? Yes! Touchdown pass, 540 in the 504.
Joe Tessitore on the call. Stay connected with ESPN 690 while you're at work by listening on ESPN690.com. Best kept secret in tires is TireOutlet.com. Tire Outlet offers wholesale prices, premium service, and Tire Outlet always has a safety-first focus. With locations throughout the First Coast, there's no need to go anywhere else for tires and service.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jag.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anna Jar and Levine studio.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
All right, let's break from the Jaguars talk and grievance gate for at least a little bit, because you know what's a big day around the country? National Signing Day. They moved it up a couple years ago, and here we are, great Christmas presents for families all over the country.
Without a doubt.
And for college coaches all over the country, too, as they get it done. And there is a second one in February, but this has become a pretty big one, this move to December. Wow, did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Did you hear that? That's a Rhode Island accent coming up.
Oh, yeah, it's all right, man. I mean,
can you save that? Because that's
I
like
still
the
have my
first...
Wisconsin accent all the time, so I'm not going to say anything about it.
I just remember the days having to sign with Ashland University as really an emotional time for me.
Oh, yeah?
How about you from Murray
Well,
State?
basically what happened, you just basically sent the check and you said, can I come play here? And they said yes?
Yes, I paid, and I said, can I walk on?
Well, you understand my story. A small FCS school in Murray State University. I was a zero-star recruit out of
still trying to
high
become
school,
a star.
Trying to become a star still. And basically what happened is that I signed my letter of intent without ever visiting the university, because they offered me a scholarship 3 days before signing period, and I took it because it was a scholarship.
Well, that was right up in the 11th hour, and the young man we have in studio right now on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. And by the way, you can listen in your car, ESPN690.com, the TuneIn app. You can also watch it, so you can see that young man right here in studio on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all of the above. But that's Jeff Sims, and he had a little bit of an 11th hour move to make as well, because he was committed to Florida State, and then, of course, Willie Taggart got let go, and that changed after a meeting with Mike Norvell. He reopens his recruitment, and Jeff Sims, congratulations. Welcome aboard. Tell everybody where you went. Let's make pretend it's 9:30 in the morning again at Sandalwood High School. Where are you going to go to school for the next 4 years, Jeff?
I'll be attending Georgia Tech.
Very
I love
good.
it.
Hey, we're going to spin that into an announce live here on Action Sports
Of course, exactly. Sure. Let's do it. Yep. Fake crowd
Chris.
noise. I like that.
All right, man. What a wild ride this is. I was just talking to your parents, Aisha Sims and Jeff Sims, and we should let everybody know, and I think we have in the past. In June, we had Mike Sims Walker, former Jags receiver, your teammate on the Jags. Well, that's Jeff's uncle. So close relationship there. And he lives up in Atlanta, so Atlanta will be a good spot for you. But how did you get here? Tell us about the last couple of weeks when Willie Taggart got fired and how it all transpired for you to end up at Georgia Tech.
When Coach Taggart got fired, I really just held my ground and just stayed strong in my commitment, just to see who they would bring in and not want to close any doors that had been open for me. So, and then things didn't turn out the way I thought they were. So I just felt it in my heart and prayed about it and talked it over with my parents, and we decided that it was in my best interest to decommit. And then we were going back and forth between and Maryland, and then like 2 days before signing day, like I felt it in my heart that Georgia Tech was the right spot for me.
Very good. That's awesome. Just to add to that timeline, you met with Mike Norvell, right? That was an accurate report. He came to Jacksonville, new coach at Florida State.
Yeah.
How did that meeting go? How does that work? Because it's a different system, different guy you don't know very well, but I'm sure he's very good coach, well-respected, nice man. But how does that go when you guys are trying to decide, all right, is this still the right fit now that I'm the new coach at Florida State?
Yeah, I have much respect for Coach Norvell, just how he came in and told me the things that he did and just how he told me straight up. And I would say that it didn't go as I expected, but I actually thank him for telling me that so I can know what was the decision to make.
Very good. I like that. Good transparency there. It could go the other way in the recruiting world. So
I'm glad he didn't come in and just sugarcoat anything, and then I got up there and he was a totally different person.
Very good.
Jeff, I remember when I signed for my scholarship and everything, and it obviously wasn't as prestigious as yours as going to Georgia Tech now.
Hey, now, don't go Racers.
Go Racers. Hey, we got the coaching staff coming in this year. Let's go Racers. I know. But from your perspective, though, it's hard enough just to be a teenager your age, right?
Yeah.
And you set yourself up to go to Florida State. There's some changes that are made, and obviously you decommit and you go someplace else. And I can tell from just your family that walking in here, you have a great support system.
Yes.
So I'm sure they helped you in this process, which is fantastic because a lot of kids don't have that. But from your perspective, what were some of the, what checked off the boxes for you to either choose Maryland or Georgia Tech? What were you looking for?
Really distance, just how genuine the coaches was at Georgia Tech, and then life after football. That was a big part. And, I can't play football for the rest of my life. So just having that Georgia Tech degree means a lot.
That's awesome.
Smart kid, man.
Yeah, very smart, well-grounded, and those are all important things. I wonder about recruiting. Again, I said to your folks when you guys walked in here, I think this is hard.
Yeah.
I think so many people want to be like you guys. They want to be coveted. Everybody wants to be talked about and talk to be a star. And, hey, you were a reality recruit on the Friday Night Blitz last year. I mean, you got a lot of attention, a lot of love. That's not a bad thing, right? Everybody likes that. I mean, heck, we want to get a lot of love here on the show, so hopefully people are listening.
Absolutely.
But people like that, but it also can be overwhelming. I mean, you've got texts all the time and mail all the time. And I guess there's a point where you're like, all right, enough's enough. And you want this thing over.
Yeah.
When did you reach that point? And I know you got thrown for a little bit of a loop in the final couple of weeks, but when did it get that way for you that you're like, man, all right, let's come on, signing day, get here quick.
I mean, really, it kind of ended for me when I committed to Florida State and started back up when I decommitted.
Yeah, for a couple of days. Yeah, a couple of days.
So it was a smooth process for me. So I really can't say that it was frustrating or anything.
Does it become overwhelming though? Did you feel that?
It really does.
Is it hard to go to practice, be a normal kid, do your schoolwork, do the chores mom and dad might have for you? Any of those kind of things?
Yeah, sometimes because I get distracted and that takes me off course of what I'm doing.
You obviously have some other teammates that have been highly recruited as well. How much fun was this morning at Sandalwood High School? Kobe Baines, where did he end up picking, or has he Miami or Louisville?
Louisville.
He picked Louisville. Derek Bermudez, Ole Miss or Pitt?
Ole Miss.
He did go Ole Miss after the changes there with Lane Kiffin. Jalen Embry going to Bowling Green. Tony Forrest to UCF. I mean, think about where you got a little talent at Sandalwood, we know. Javante Kinsey going to Bowling Green still. And then JAguars Robinson, Alabama guy, who signed this morning. How much fun to go through this process with those guys? How much do you guys talk back and forth through the last couple of years when college coaches are coming and calling and all the experiences you're getting?
Yeah, it's really fun just to see all of us grinding together and then shining together, honestly. And, some of those guys that were on that table I've known since I was one of them I've known since for a while, and other two I've known since elementary school, and we all grind together, and we just wanted to see this work out for us, and it did.
I always think it's interesting what you fall in love with in the recruiting process. I think from what I'm gathering from you is that it's kind of the coaches that you relate They mean something to you.
Which is smart because you spend a lot of time with them.
It
so
is.
You have to get along with them.
But let's be honest. Obviously, Jeff Sims, by the way, with us from Sandalwood, committed to Georgia Tech, live with us on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. I mean, he didn't commit live on ESPN 690, but we kind of said he did. So we've already spun that. But you already had it. You get attracted to a coach in Willie Taggart, and then the coaches change. I mean, there's no guarantee just because you're committing for 4 years, that guy's going to be there for 4 years, so it makes it difficult. But what I wanted to ask you, everybody's building these big facilities, these big football fields, the SEC, the ACC, these big atmospheres. It's hard not to be sold on that stuff as a kid. Academics play a role in it.
Yeah.
But Loxley at Maryland, great recruiter, great man. Obviously, people fall in love with him. Taggart, Florida State, same thing. I think you kind of give us an indication Norvell might be that way. But Jeff Collins really did it for you, it sounded like, at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Why was your attraction to the coach maybe instead of the material things at these universities?
I mean, those material things are at every university. So, I mean, that stuff really doesn't matter. And you're going to be with your coach most of the time. So you got to build that relationship. And whatever coach is showing you that he's really wanting to help you and help you get better, that's where you got to go.
Jeff, I loved your answer where you said you understand you can't play football forever, right? And you picked Georgia Tech because they have a great program as well of what you're going to be studying. From that standpoint, from my understanding, you'll be going there in January, correct, to go there early. What is your mindset right now? Because you said you can't play football forever, but the time that you are going to play football, you're a pretty damn good player, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, what kind of mindset are you looking to bring to Georgia Tech when you get on campus?
I'm bringing a competitive mindset, a winning mindset, and I just want to be the best me I can be. I'm going to be a leader, and I'm just going to do everything the right way. Listen to my coaches, pray about it, keep God first, and just grind.
Give us a sense of Georgia Tech right now, because we think Georgia Tech and we think Paul Johnson and we think they're going to run the football. And if you're a quarterback, or Calvin Johnson for that matter, you're probably not going to throw the ball around and catch too many passes. Well, now it's Jeff Collins' team.
Yes.
It's his program. What are they running up there? What excites you about what they might do on offense? He's a defensive guy, but what's it going to be like with you playing quarterback, competing for a quarterback spot? And that kind of offense. What are they doing up there?
The offense is going to be very explosive, I can tell you that. Going to put up points and take a lot of load off the defense, basically.
That's very good. Did you see the reaction from Collins and the coaching staff?
Yeah, I did.
I tell you what, I saw that, and I was like, I'm glad Jeff's coming in here a little bit later, because if I saw, it's cool signing, and everybody in the gymnasium, at signing and day goes nuts and claps, and it's finally done. But it kind of warmed my belly a little bit to see the coaches get that excited about it.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it felt great. It confirmed why I made that decision.
Well, and you were, in recruiting ways, they call it a Pied Piper sometimes, where a guy, you go get this guy, player, and then he really does a lot of the recruiting work for you. Other people want to come because he's there, or he'll spread the word. You did a great job of that, actually, with Willie Taggart in Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, you had that spear in the ground on Twitter and everywhere else. You said, come on over.
Yeah.
Now you got to carry that mantle a little bit to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably why they were excited. I mean, when you pick a place, you're all in on that place. And do you see that as part of your role, especially going there early? Like, hey, kids from Northeast Florida, or people that you see on 7-on-7 camps, we're doing something special here. We're building it. Be a part of it. Come with me.
Yeah, it's just one of the best guys around you and the best guys that can help your team out. And, you got to be a good person. You got to have good character. And that's things that I look for. I sound like a recruiter, but still. But, yeah, you just got to.
I like it, man.
I just like having like-minded people around me. So just doing that and getting those people to the school that I'm going to, it feels good.
What's the QB situation there? What are you going to have to compete with? And will you be given a chance, right? You're going to be a young college football player in the spring. Do you have a chance? Do you view this like, hey, I can take my time and eventually win the job? What's your approach?
My approach is to go in there and compete and be the best me I can be every day and try to win the job.
It's kind of sounds like my interview for you, right, Brent? When I came on the radio show.
Actually, you're the only guy that wanted to do it with me.
I was the last resort. All right, what is what it is. I still got the job. Jeff, so you're a dual threat quarterback, and right now it's a good time to be a dual threat quarterback. It seems like, whether it's on my fantasy football team with Jackson from the Ravens, whether it's Deshaun Watson, and the MVP candidacy. From your perspective, I mean, do you kind of model your game after those guys now? I mean, do you feel kind of like this surge of the dual threat quarterback? It's kind of taken over the game, not only at college football, but also in the NFL?
I model my game after myself, really. I don't model my game after anybody. I go out there and I just play. And I react to situations, and I just do what I do.
Who's your favorite guy to watch right now in the NFL?
Lamar Jackson.
Well, but of course, man.
I mean, no doubt, though. I mean, so does he look different playing the QB position from your eyes, the way you see the QB position?
Oh, yeah, he definitely does. You can tell he put in a lot of work, and you can tell that he studies a lot because he's off the charts throwing this year, better than most quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Absolutely. Now, that's what's going to change, right? I mean, the competition gets so much better in the ACC. You're a supreme athlete, even though you have a lot of good athletes on your team. There's a ton of good athletes in Northeast Florida, but you're good. You can get away with things in high school that you probably won't be able to get away with on the football field now. How much maturing do you have to do from the quarterback position, from a skill set position, to translate your game at a very high level to the ACC and Georgia Tech?
A lot. I mean, as in my head, I'm not satisfied with my high school career at all. I feel like I didn't really meet the standards that I wanted to, but I'm blessed to have the accomplishments that I have. And ever since the season ended this year, it's just been work every day just to get better and be prepared for college and just get better every day.
That's a great mindset to have. A little background real quick on Jeff Sims. Marcel Robinson, obviously with Action Sports Shacks, for our Friday Night Blitz show, for years we did this reality recruit segment. And so Jeff and Carson Beck last year were the subjects of our reality recruit. Basically, we follow them around off the field, on the field, every Friday night. Marcel did a great job with it. Still online. You can check it out on actionnewsjacks.com or YouTube channel, all those things. Get more about Jeff. But part of it, my favorite one that sticks out to me is you mowing lawns with your dad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, are you off the hook now? Like, do you not have to mow lawns anymore? I mean, he's not paying for college, I don't think.
I mean, it's not that I have to. Sometimes I choose to most of the time, but I don't have time to no more really, because I really, like I said, work out, go to training, go to school. Well, now I don't have to go to school anymore, so I may have some more time to do it.
So there's no truth to the rumor you went to school early to get out of the Saturday morning mowing lawns.
Oh, no. But I like going out there with my dad because I think it helps us bond and it keeps me humble, and it shows me how to work for things that I want.
I'm going to interrupt you one more time since we're on the topic. Asia Sims, your mom, and Jeff Sims, your dad. Here's your chance, man. You're obviously a well-grounded young man. You have great support system. It's got to mean a lot to what they've put into you and your academics and your athletics and put you in a position to be successful. What do they mean to you to be able to put you here?
They mean a lot to me. I mean, when I started high school, I told them that they would not have to pay for college. And I'm just blessed that it's happening, you know. And I thank them for pushing me every day and just not letting up and not letting me slack off, because sometimes I would.
That's good. Needed that push. And of course, Mike Sims Walker, your uncle, I think he's been a big part of this too, right?
Big part.
I don't want to take anything away from your parents, but I think he's been a big part of it too.
Yeah, I think him too for a lot of things. He has my back, as you can tell, he has my back. And I love my uncle, you know. He helps me a lot. He helps me with recruiting, coverages, like knowing everything about football. And when I get to college, it's going to get new. Like, he's just going to be there every day.
Jeff, one of the cool things about what I get to do on this show is I get to kind of get the psychology of players, right? And you're a football player, and I'm a former football player, so I like talking to players, you know, that play football. And from your perspective, whether it's middle school, Pop Warner, high school, or not going to college, or someday if you make it to the pros, the quarterback position, it's all about leadership.
Yes.
Right? And I think you're a great leader at Sandalwood, obviously. You got to this position now. But from your perspective, what kind of leadership qualities do you bring, and what kind of leadership qualities will you have going forward to going to Georgia Tech?
I'm a very energetic guy, so
I like it.
I'll lead by example more than like yelling at people and stuff. That's not me. I don't do all that because that's not my job really. So I lead by example. I work as hard as I can, and they'll follow. You know. I do tend to talk a lot of trash, though, so I think that helps a lot.
A little swag.
Yeah,
something wrong
going
with that.
against the defense, talk a lot of trash. You know, you got your offense behind you, want to come back at them.
Sure.
So that's what I bring.
Just make sure you back it up, man.
Yeah.
Just make sure you back it up. Carson Beck going to Georgia. We got Georgia Tech, Mandarin Center. It's been a fun little ride measuring you and Carson along the way. Have you enjoyed that? Obviously, you guys have a friendship now.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, except for when we play each other, because He beat me.
It didn't go well.
But, yeah.
But you have to get him back, man. Now you got a chance to get him back.
Yeah.
Not too many guys get that chance. Now you do.
Yeah, but I trained with Carson. We played Pop Warner together. It's just crazy how we're both going to the college and playing against each other through high school, playing against each other through college, and it's just a crazy story.
Hey, man, awesome stuff. Congratulations to the entire family. Congratulations to you. Looks like a great decision. Congratulations to Jeff Collins and Georgia Tech. If you're listening and you're a Yellow Jacket fan, I think you know you're getting a good young man, a good quarterback, and it will be a nice addition to the program for Jeff Collins and Georgia Tech. My favorite thing about covering high school sports, we've been doing it for 20 years now, no matter what area of the country, is you get to see this part of it, where the kids go from the next spot. And then, hey, maybe we'll be talking about you in the NFL or doing something else, maybe a radio show like down the road.
Not ours. Not ours, man. He's not going to school for that now. Don't forget it.
Just let me give you one piece of
advice.
Relax. Don't go fight in the MMA. Because you might look like that.
Yeah. You see this nose, man? It came at a price. That's all I'm going to say.
Jeff Sims, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
You guys have a good, happy holiday season. I think it'll be a good one now that this is over. You signed, sealed, and delivered. Early enrolling to Georgia Tech. Pretty awesome stuff. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we talk a little bit more NFL. We will get back to the college. I'll give you updates on Florida and Florida State and Georgia. Maybe we'll slide Georgia Tech in there, too, now as well, and see how everybody's doing in the rankings here on this signing day 2019. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
Trust, tradition, and quality. A winning combination to feel good about your home. Sometimes it's just that time to replace your roof. Or maybe you need to fix your roof after a recent storm. Hey, everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks. And there are so many roofing companies in the area. But which one can you trust? Let me tell you about my friends at Jack C. Wilson Roofing Company. Trust a family-owned business with owners that grew up right here in Jacksonville. Talk to the owners directly. Get free estimates. And you can trust Jack C. Wilson Roofing to walk you through each step of the process. Tradition? Jack C. Wilson is a name you know. The longest-standing roofing company in Northeast Florida. They have been repairing and replacing asphalt shingle roofs since 1946. How about quality? A roof you will tell your neighbors about. Quality from start to finish, shingle by shingle. You can request a free estimate at jackcwilsonroofing.com. It's the first name in Jacksonville Roofing. And make sure you let them know Brent Martineau sent you.
What's up, everybody? It's Austin Lee on ESPN 690, and I need you, your friends, and family to meet me at the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena Saturday, December 21st for the Jacksonville Icemen's Drive for 10,000 Teddy Bears. I know what you're thinking, hockey and teddy bears, but check this out. When the Icemen score their first goal, fans will be encouraged to throw their teddy bears and other stuffed animals on the ice. These stuffed animals will then be donated to the Children's Christmas Party of Jacksonville. So thousands of local kids are going to have their holiday shine a little brighter. There is no limit to the amount of stuffed animals that you can bring. This may be the only time where you're actually encouraged to throw things at a sporting event. So let's have some fun. Let's cheer on the Icemen and try to break an ECHL teddy bear toss record, all while doing our part in making sure local kids in need have a special holiday as well. It's the Drive for 10,000 Teddy Bears supporting the Children's Christmas Party of Jacksonville this Saturday, December 21st. Get your tickets now at jacksiceman.com/Teddy19. That's jacksiceman.com/Teddy19, and let's put some teddy bears on ice.
The holidays are on the horizon. That means family and food. Hey, everybody, I'm Brent Martineau. Let Renna's Pizza help you out. Parties at school, parties at work, celebrations, or maybe you're just tired of cooking yourself. Renna's has you covered with 5 locations in Northeast Florida. Want a fresh one? Renna's makes everything fresh. New York-style pizza, sandwiches, salads, and pasta dishes. Everything fresh. Find out why Renna's has been a family favorite for over 40 years. 5 locations in Northeast Florida. Marsh Landing, Bay Meadows, Argyle Forest, San Jose, and the newest location in Neptune Beach.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. 3 Oklahoma players are suspended for the Peach Bowl college football playoff game against LSU. Defensive lineman Ronnie Perkins, running back Ramondre Stevenson, and wideout Trajan Bridges are all out for that game on December 28th. We've got an NBA doubleheader on ESPN starting tonight at 7 Eastern with the Heat and the 76ers. That game will be followed by the Celtics and Mavericks. Boston's Gordon Hayward out tonight with a sore left foot. Tomorrow, the teams with the best record in the NBA will meet in Milwaukee. The Lakers and Bucks are both 24-4. Lakers forward Anthony Davis says his team has gelled quickly this season.
LeBron is meeting with all the players in the beginning of the season and just kind of told us, like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. We're going to be doubted. We're going to hit adversity, but we have to stay together.
Anthony Davis on First Take. The Cowboys and Eagles play Sunday in Philadelphia. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott limited in practice right now, but an MRI shows no serious damage to his right shoulder. Prescott got hurt Sunday against the Rams.
Dodge's gift to you this holiday is Employee Pricing Plus. That means everyone gets the same price as employees on a new Durango. So hurry into the Dodge Big Finish event today.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jags.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio. This is Action Sports Jags on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Yeah, we just go through the process. The process in place for it, and that's what happened. Went through the process, and it worked out in the players' favor. And, it happens. I mean, it's going to be disputes. It's work. And the way the system is set up. We're working on the CBA right now and trying to get more clarity, trying to create, just a better language so that everybody kind of understands we're on the same page.
That's Calais Campbell talking more about that CBA, talking about the grievances against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the NFLPA. And they get their hands full sometimes with these organizations, and now with the upcoming CBA. Calais Campbell trying to shed a little light on that. And we go back to that topic here in just a moment. Ryan O'Halloran will join us in just a few moments. Hey, what a nice young man Jeff Sims is. Congratulations. Great to spend a little time with the family. He's had a busy day, had a busy few weeks, months, all that stuff. But we appreciate him stopping in here on National Signing Day.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to finally meet him. I heard a lot about him. And listen, usually I'm the guy who would give somebody some advice, like going to, play college football. I'll be like, hey, man, just so-and-so. But, I mean, seeing that guy's support system and seeing just how many good people he has in his corner, he doesn't need advice from me. I think that kid's going to be okay, man.
Yeah, he is. He's a good talent, a good young man. But it's hard, man. It's hard, the recruiting cycle. It looks so much fun. I just think it's really hard. It's really hard for these kids, especially the younger age. We were kind of talking a little bit like a Joey Gatewood. I mean, Gatewood had been committed to – he's a Bartram Trail kid, been committed for so long. And, a year and a half into that thing, it doesn't work out at Auburn. He's out the door and on to something else. And that wasn't even with a coaching change. So there's a lot to digest for young people in that spot. It's a lot of pressure on them to make a life choice at a young age. And the support system certainly helps. If you don't have the support system, it's really hard.
And listen, it was hard for me. I didn't have a lot of choices, but it was always, am I going to play basketball or football in college? So that was a decision I had to make. So it was stressful for me. And keep in mind, back in 2006, I didn't have a cell phone. There wasn't really Twitter. There wasn't Facebook yet. And it was hard for me back then. I can't imagine the student athletes these days.
Well, it's kind of like Ryan O'Halloran when newspapers are calling and they want a writer. It's like, man, will you stop calling me? I got a good job here at the Denver Post. That's what O'Halloran's probably saying. National Signing Day 2019. We break from that for a moment. I will give you an update on Florida State, and the rest. But now Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post joins us. And wow, we got another juicy topic. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, 5 o'clock hour. Ryan, weather report, please.
Time and temperature, fellas, 306 here in the Denver area, and a A-plus day, 58 degrees, not a cloud in the sky.
Oh, you're spoiled over there right now.
Is it going to be a white Christmas?
I don't think it's going to be. It's supposed to be 60 on Sunday for the game, but that can change in a couple hours.
Oh, wow. It certainly can in the Denver area. All right, let's get right to it, man. How about the news that's out this week on the Jacksonville Jaguars? Your reaction to that?
A couple things, actually a lot of things. We wrote the first story in the Times-Union about 2.5 years ago about this when I got a tip saying, hey, Tom Coughlin has sent letters to returning players saying, we want you in Jacksonville for a physical before the off-season program starts. That's not allowed. He wanted them to pay their own way to get there. That's not allowed. So it's always been bubbling underneath the surface for the last couple of years. This is an embarrassing story for this franchise. It's one thing to lose on the field. Shad Khan obviously doesn't like that. He expects a better performance. But when the name of his franchise is tainted and lambasted, like it has been the last couple of days, and continuing inside the locker room of the Jaguars today, this is a black eye for the Jaguars.
Ryan, in terms of Shad Khan, being a billionaire that he is, and in my opinion, when you have the money, you have the power to control the narrative. And right now, it's been all quiet, at the front office front from Shad Khan's perspective. We haven't heard from Tom Coughlin yet. All we've heard from is Doug Marrone, who obviously can't really clue anybody in what's going on, and you've heard from the players. Does Shad Khan need to come out and at least issue a statement? Because in my opinion right now, you have a chance to at least change the narrative a little bit, because NFL players are watching this, players are talking about this, and us in the media, we're talking about it as well. And right now, in my opinion, the Jacksonville Jaguars are the laughing stock of the NFL.
I would agree with that part, Austin. The only thing I can deduce by Shad not putting out a statement, which has been his MO throughout his tenure when the storylines demanded some kind of reaction. He's already made his decision. He's going to fire Tom Coughlin after the season. So I think in his mind, just wait 12 more days before talking about it. If he issues a statement now saying, I don't condone this, this is an embarrassment of the franchise, I think a big part of him will feel like he's kicking somebody when he's on the way out. But it needs to be addressed eventually. I think it will be about 2 weeks from yesterday, or 2 weeks coming up on Monday after the season ends. But it's not a good look. But I would have loved for Shad to come out and say, hey, this is unacceptable. And he had to know about it because these investigations have been going on for 2 years. So it's, you don't want to say the owner's culpable, but this was, and also I don't want to say this is a organization-wide failure. I think this falls on the top of the head of one guy.
And Ryan, from your perspective, and we can all see the writing on the wall, right? Like the coaching staff will probably be let go. Tom Coughlin will probably be gone. But in your opinion, why not just let him go right now? Because if anything, you have the trump card. You have stats that have come out. You have the NFLPA that has come out and issued a statement saying it's not good in Jacksonville right now, and it falls on Tom Coughlin. If you're Shad Khan, why not get ahead of the situation and let Tom Coughlin go right now?
I think the only thought on that one is that Tom has told him that he's going to retire after the season, and that means he doesn't have to be paid. So if Coughlin has been in front with ownership about that, then you just wait it out. But here's my thing, and I brought this up to a couple other people, is can Shad Khan fire Tom Coughlin for cause and not pay him? Because this is behavior unbecoming of an executive in pro football. But I don't think it's going to come to that. I think the parting of the ways will happen relatively quickly after the season.
Just a quick follow-up, too. So you said Shad Khan had to know this was probably going on. And if that's the case, I mean, where does the responsibility fall on the owner to make sure that this doesn't happen, right? Because this isn't just 1%, 2%, 25% of the league grievances from 2017, I think 2018, were filed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. How much of this just falls on Shad Khan directly?
I think a lot should. And if I'm Roger Goodell, that's the question I'm asking to Shad this week. When did you know it? How much did you know? Because just like everything on the field falls on the head coach, everything else from business, ticketing, performance, players, all stops with the owner. That's why it's his team. So that's one of the questions I would have for ownership the next time Shad's available is, take me through this from your perspective. I'm sure there were things that were left out if he was in the loop.
Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post joined us on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Ryan, you know Tom Coughlin's name around here. Obviously, you know it in the NFL. I mean, two-time Super Bowl champ, long list of very positive things in the NFL as a coach. Hasn't been so great from an executive standpoint, although I do point out 2017. That's on the resume, and that's good and can't be forgotten in my opinion. I guess what I'm getting around to is these kind of things, the last couple of years in general, the Ramsey wanting out, the grievances. In 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, do you think it tarnishes a legacy that's a pretty darn good one in Jacksonville and really not a bad one around the league?
I think it should, and I think it will, because 3 or 5 years from now, when you hear that name, what's the first thing you're going to think of? Besides the 2 Super Bowl wins with the Giants, you're going to think about grievances. That's a fact of life. I won't forget 2017, nor should Jaguar fans. That's a year where everything came together, but they weren't able to build on it. And the thing about this that should be concerning, these are self-inflicted wounds. I mean, during the course of a football season, you're going to have enough distractions by playing better teams, by losing people to injury. But this is a mess that he created, just like the Ramsey-Telvin thing in the spring. That was a mess created by him. And that's why I'm loving Doug Marrone's press conferences these days, because he's not hiding his disdain for this.
Well, you bring up a good point on Doug Marrone. We brought it up earlier in the show. Does some of this almost let Marrone off the hook for these last couple of seasons, especially this one, given the fact you kind of know what he's working with now and up against and why he changed his approach this year, and everything in that system inside that organization is not on the same page? Does it do anything to potentially salvage his role in that building, his job in that building, because he wasn't put in a very good position, it looks like, over these last couple of years?
Well, I mean, Doug deserves a fair share of the blame for the on-field performance. I'll give you that. I'm not going to give him a complete pass, but also I'm going to give him a little bit of pass and realize who he's been reporting to the last 3 years. It is not easy. It was not easy for these guys in that building when they were winning. You know that, Brent.
Yeah.
So when the losing kicked in, I'm sure the angst got in overdrive. And I think if you're Doug, I think you just wait 12 days and see what happens and just move on, because I think even he expects that he wouldn't be retained. I think the key part moving forward is, does Dave Caldwell survive all this? Does Shad Khan look at this and say, hey, maybe some kind of continuity is better because of the drafts they had, Taven Bryan not included, but also some of the picks they have coming up? Does he feel like a softer transition is needed where you can keep the GM and then have him lead a head coaching search?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see on that part of it. One thing I did say, Austin, we said earlier in the show, is that Doug Marrone, I think, by the way, Ryan, there will be sweeping changes regardless, but I think Doug Marrone will be without a job in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And I do think he's helped himself going forward. I think people inside NFL buildings, they know that. They know that the walls talk, right? People, just like players talk, people talk. And they're going to know, like, oh, my gosh, this must have been tough. And they see a Doug Marrone that's kind of rallied and battled through this, I think, over the course of this year, Ryan.
Well, I think when Doug Marrone becomes available, probably not as a coordinator because he hasn't called plays before, there are going to be teams that are going to say, if we can hire Doug as our O-line coach, we're going to fire the guy we have right now. And so if he wants to work next year, he'll be able to, just like a lot of these assistants will, but it just won't be in Jacksonville.
Ryan, as Brent just said, players talk around the league, especially in 2019, right, with the modern era NFL player. And I kind of gave my former players' perspective a little bit of just how detrimental this NFLPA letter, this statement, and also what players probably in that locker room for the Jacksonville Jaguars are saying to other teams, when they talk to each other. You've been around players a lot, and you've been around different teams and different franchises and different locker rooms. In your perspective, just how detrimental is this letter from the NFLPA, this statement saying they urge players not to sign in Jacksonville? How detrimental is this to the Jaguars going forward and trying to get some of those free agent signings who are going to be so essential to starting this, a new base when they tear this whole thing down?
Well, I think it's detrimental until they make changes. So it's going to fester here for the next couple weeks. Before I get to that, just one other thing about every locker room I've been in, Austin, players bitch about management. It's a fact of life. That goes with any job ever.
True.
You're not getting paid enough. You're not getting treated well enough, et cetera, et cetera. That's fine. It makes for good conversation and stuff. I see some people saying, well, there's a disconnect between the players and Tom Coughlin. Shouldn't be a connection in it whatsoever. You shouldn't have to deal with this guy ever. So it'd be a bigger problem if there's a disconnect between players and Marrone. But to answer your question about detrimental, money talks. And if a month from now the Jaguars have a new coach and new coordinators and they create free agent money, it's going to be a talking point when they start talking to their agents during the combine is, hey, the person responsible for those grievances is no longer working for us. We're going to move forward. This didn't happen before that person got here. We want to be a first-class organization. And maybe you have to pay maybe 125, 130 cents on the dollar to make a signing happen.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought those would be the situations with free agents for the Jags years ago, and they had a lot of money then, and they could do that then. They have a little bit less money now to be able to do that. So getting guys like Malik Jackson, they won those bids. Calais Campbell, they won that bid. They lost the Olivia Vernon one, but they didn't lose a lot of bids for guys that they really were trying to chase. Might be a little bit different now because of the dollars that are available for the Jaguars. We'll see how much exactly could be available. All right, we got to let you go, but let's hit a football thing or two. Pro Bowl, snubs, anything catch your attention from all the announcements? Obviously around here, Calais Campbell voted in for the Jags.
Well, I think with Calais, and also I'll throw Von Miller at the Broncos, a lot about the Pro Bowl is you're getting rewarded for past performance. I'm sure Calais will be the first one to tell you this hasn't been his best year with the Jaguars. But once you get into that conversation, once you're respected by teammates around the league, players around the league, it's going to help you get that vote. 12 Ravens stood out. That means those alternates better be damn ready to get to Orlando because if the Ravens make the Super Bowl, a lot of that whole roster is going to be basically turned over.
Hey, Ryan, is that too many for a team? I mean, I'm not saying this should be like Major League Baseball and every team's got to be represented, but in a league that's 24 positions essentially, or however many there were for each conference, and one team's getting 12 guys, it almost felt like a little too much.
Yeah, and you throw in there a couple of them were specialists, which are sort of voted separately.
True, fullback and punt and kicker. Yeah.
So, but I do say I don't think you ever want to put a limit. I think this was an abnormal year. I mean, the Rams had double digits last year, but also I'd rather have 12 Ravens than making sure they wedge a Giant or a Dolphin player onto the Pro Bowl roster.
That's a good call.
Ryan, real quick, Von Miller's been the face of the franchise now for the Broncos for a while. And after that last game, he kind of came out and he was frustrated, to say the least. And he was very transparent in how he felt. In your opinion, is this a guy that's going to be a Bronco for life here? And also, if he's not, is that a mistake, I guess?
We'll put it this way. When I ran into Von Monday in the locker room, I said, thanks for writing my story after the game because that was a dog game, and he was the best part of it because I was standing 2 feet from him at that podium, and he came in, he gave an opening statement, he was off and running. It was you look at it two ways. One, he wants to be part of the solution. He was telling people, hey, this is not good enough. Or two, he's trying to grease the skids for his exit by saying, hey, I'm 30, the window's closing, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. He's going to backtrack tomorrow during his usual podium appearance, I'm guessing. But it was measured in its tone, but the frustration was clear. He probably felt 2 years ago this team was going to be a perennial playoff contender. Well, now they're looking at a fourth straight year out of the postseason. He's seeing his career, on the back nine. So I thought it was very honest, very raw, and probably very needed.
Yeah, pretty good stuff by Von Miller. Still a very good player in this league and obviously one of the leaders. But you're right, 30 years old. You start seeing that window close a little bit. Hey, lastly, NFL set up pretty nicely these last 2 weekends, aren't they? They don't have a lot of spots available yet, but think about Eagles and Dallas playing here in Week 16. I think San Fran has the Rams, vital game. And then how about, has the league ever closed on maybe a bigger game? I mean, are we going to have that discussion? And I'm sure they have, but this San Francisco-Seattle game to finish things could be the difference between first seed and fifth seed. That could be massive.
Yeah, and probably 5-6 years ago they made sure Week 17 was all division matchups. So that gives you a little bit of a chance for this happening. But Green Bay, Minnesota, Monday night, the last Monday night game, that's basically for the NFC North. That's the difference between being a 6 and a 3. So, a top-heavy conference, you have a lot of these teams who are saying, hey, can we get to that 5th spot so we can be a road favorite at Philadelphia or Dallas in the wild card round? So a lot of intrigue. Have the 49ers at 8-0. Have they peaked? They're 3-3 in their last 6. Mm-hmm. The Rams are done. The Seahawks have played better on the road than at home. So I think it's shaping up to be a very good Week 16 with those 3 Saturday games, Bills, Patriots being one of them, and then leading into the finale.
Ryan, real quick, what are your thoughts of the playoff format, right? Because for me to sit here and justify either Seattle or San Francisco being a wild card team, I just can't do it. I would much rather see, obviously, if you win your division, yes, you get a playoff spot, but then they should rank them, or they should do the seedings of the playoffs, do the best record once those teams are in. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about that last week. I like the format is because winning the division should count as something, and because you play each team twice, so that's 6 games, and you've at least survived that. You're the best of that group. Maybe them making the playoffs and reseeding, but yeah. I don't think the league is headed that direction because right now, Philadelphia or Dallas are probably going to finish 8, 9, 7. So you're not going to have the black eye of a 7 and 9 team.
Yeah.
But the last couple of times that's happened under 500 team, they've won that first round game. So, I think it's okay the way it is, unless this happens 2-3 years in a row. That's generally what it takes for owners around this league to act.
Ryan O'Halloran, good stuff on a lot of topics. Appreciate you checking in. We will not join you next week, so Merry Christmas, buddy. Happy holidays. I hope you enjoy them.
All right, we'll have plenty to talk about in 2 weeks, I'm guessing.
Oh, we always do.
Yeah, we might have to move you up a day. Thanks, man. Enjoy it. Go have a margarita. Steamy Colorado. Ryan O'Halloran, Denver Post from on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Real quick thought on that. I'm with Ryan. I think these are reactionary. You don't see it a lot. 8-8, 7-9 division champs. You just don't. I mean, so it's like I get it. I get why people are saying it. But it's just kind of more of a one-off thing. And I think Ryan's right about the division stuff. And if San Francisco's that much better than it doesn't matter if they played them on the moon. They're going to beat them, or Seattle, or whoever ends up as the 5th seed.
No, I get your point, Brent. But to me, for a team to go, to 12-4, or we'll see 11-5, whatever it is, like for a team to be that good and to be in the wild card spot, to me, that's a punishment. Like, you should be rewarded for being one of the most dominant teams in the NFL. So that's why I think they should implement where if you win your division, congratulations, automatic playoff spot. And then from there, you do the reseeding. And you go, the best records get the 1 spot, second to best 2 spot, and so on and so on and so on. Because to try to justify, like a San Francisco playing possibly at Philly or Dallas, well, yeah, of course, I think they would dominate Dallas or Philly. But at the same time, is it fair for them to travel to those spots when they have the better record? In my opinion, it's not.
No, it's probably not.
Yeah.
Really. But I think they are trying to say, hey, your division does matter. And what if your division is really, really tough, and so you finish 9-7? Not that it's really, really bad, but it's really, really tough.
I mean, I would argue that the NFC West is the toughest division.
No, it is.
With the LA Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals. That's the toughest.
But my point is it can be tough and you can finish 9-7, so you should be rewarded. You're not always going to end up 12-4.
No.
That worked out where those teams still won a lot of games outside.
Because it's a good division.
Yeah, but it can be a good division and you still end up 9-7 is my point.
It can be.
It's not always a pillow fight.
Or it can be a crappy division like the NFC East right now where it's Dallas, Philly, New York, and Washington.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying there, but I just think the teams that put in the work, that perform well on the field, they should be rewarded.
Who was it Andy Reid, or no, was it Arians? Who said they should just put them all in one conference?
I don't know who said that.
Someone said that recently. I was like, well, that's kind of like how baseball used to work, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, they won the pennant, and then they matched up in the World Series.
I would be surprised if it was Arians. He seems like the type of guy to be ahead of the game like that a little bit.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And then, because I will say this, rivalries, the Packers in Chicago, that means a little stuff. But rivalries in the NFL, I mean, we try to create a rivalry here with like Tennessee and Houston. It's more manufactured than it is real across the board in the NFL. Think about even the Patriots, as hated as they are. I mean, how big of a rivalry do they have with the Dolphins, the Bills, or the Jets right now?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Very few.
Yeah, maybe there's like a little extra every once in a while with the Steelers and Browns, but it's nothing like college football.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
it's
listen,
not like
I think
that.
back in the day, I think Steelers and Jaguars felt like one but I think that's what happens. They feel like it for a handful of years, and then one team gets bad for a while, so it's hard to sustain it.
Kind of
like
loses
you never
luster.
really built it up. It doesn't have the history like a baseball one does, college football does, and they've tried to create it, and I just don't think it works in the NFL. It's not a rivalry kind of league. Again, Chicago, Green Bay, they would disagree with me a little there, but you get my point overall. I don't really think it is on a consistent basis. Hey, let's hit the happy hour horn before we head to break here on a Wednesday. How about a week away from Christmas?
Y'all don't make nobody come between us. Y'all make nobody come between us. Oh, cherry baby.
As the careless party now begin, see the beautiful ladies marching in. There's enough for everyone to win. We're gonna make this party the best thing happening. This is my favorite place. Nothing will replace, no. Nothing. Anything goes. Gangsters rolling, half-face smiling. Heads over, think of the rhythm what you're drinking. Anything goes.
Grab a drink, get a shot, sip your Star Tenders.
Hey, a week away from Christmas, if you're like me, you're like, what the heck am I going to buy that guy or this person or this family? How about
I'm right there right now.
Yeah, we're all there right now,
Okay,
man.
good.
How about a little Vita de Luis tequila?
I like it.
Go to VitaDeLuis.com. Check out how you can make that happen. But Vita de Luis tequila, perfect gift. 98 rating recently, of course. It's come out of the gates in 2019. They've had a monster year. Blanco, Reposado, and Yeho, 3 different flavors. Find out where to get it all on VitaDeLuis.com. Made in Tequila, Mexico, shipped directly to Jack's Beach. Make your own recipes with Vita de Luis tequila, one of the smoothest tequilas you will ever taste. It absolutely is that. Vita de Luis. VitaDeLuis.com. All right, we take a break. When we come back, I'll give you some updates on how the other schools are doing National Signing Day. And I do want to spend a moment or two talking about Pro Bowl because Calais gets in, and I think Ryan's right. I think was this his best year? Probably not. Is it kind of a collective earned award off reputation? Probably so. Jalen Ramsey got in. I don't think he deserved to get in, quite frankly. If you look at his numbers, it didn't feel like that kind of year. And this isn't me like hating on Jalen. I just seriously was a little surprised to see him get in this year.
Yeah.
And then what about Leonard Fournette? Like, what? Yannick Ngakoue's not even like mentioned as an alternate.
I know.
How is that? How do we get a guy like Yannick Ngakoue more love in Jacksonville?
Is there like a radio Pro Bowl that we sign up for or not?
No.
Okay.
We didn't get it.
But by the way, you
and if there was, we didn't get it, Goose?
We didn't get it, and you look like
it.
It's in Hawaii or something. Like you're dressed like it.
Brandon with the passive-aggressive burn. I like it, man. Welcome back.
I'm still debating whether I like it.
Welcome back, man.
What is on that shirt?
Those are leaves,
Next on
man.
ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Cold tonight and clear skies with an inland frost and freeze where temperatures drop into the lower 30s. From the First Alert Weather Center, I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Where now through December 24th, get 20% off everything in the store, including loose diamonds, only at Beard's Diamonds.
Small business owners, it's been a great year, and now it's time to begin to make some end-of-year decisions. Instead of giving your hard-earned money to the tax man, consider reinvesting in your business with a quality pre-owned truck, van, or commercial work vehicle from Jacksonville Truck Center. With the largest selection of pre-owned work vehicles in North Florida and easy commercial financing, let us be your one-stop shop to get the job done today. We're on the corner of Arlington Expressway and Southside Connector. Stop by today or visit us at JacksonvilleTruckCenter.com.
In an ocean of car dealers, there's only one Atlantic Infiniti. The Infiniti Winter Sales Event features the all-new 2020s, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, loaded with luxury and convenience that will delight and amaze you, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto delivering exceptional touchscreen command of email, music, text, games, and maps. Now, the Infiniti Winter Sales Event at the one and only Atlantic Infinity's new showroom. Call for a test drive, 642-0200. Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Small business owners, Great year, and now it's time to begin to make some end-of-year decisions. Instead of giving your hard-earned money to the tax man, consider reinvesting in your business with a quality pre-owned truck, van, or commercial work vehicle from Jacksonville Truck Center. With the largest selection of pre-owned work vehicles in North Florida and easy commercial financing, let us be your one-stop shop to get the job done today. We're on the corner of Arlington Expressway and Southside Connector. Stop by today or visit us at JacksonvilleTruckCenter.com.
Pop quiz. If you sell a home for $500,000, how much would a traditional real estate agent charge in commission? If you guessed $25,000 to $30,000, you're right. But if you think that's the only way, you're wrong. This is why thousands of homeowners are making the switch to Rex. With Rex, you get a dedicated agent and a full-service experience at a fraction of the cost. Rex uses game-changing technology to cut out the middleman and save homeowners tens of thousands of dollars in fees. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. Remember, this is your home. Why give an insane amount of equity away to an agent? Rex offers the lowest fee in the industry without skimping on service. You'll work with an experienced real estate team with you every step of the way. Get the most out of your home. See if you qualify by calling 833-REX-HOME. 833-REX-HOME.
Florida, CQ 1057788.
Minimum fee may apply. Not licensed in all 50 states. Visit rexhomes.com to see if Rex is available in your area. Rex fully supports the principles of the Fair Housing Act and Equal Opportunity Act.
Hey, boss. I could sure use some cheering up. Hey, do one of your holiday poems for me, would you?
All right. How about this one? 'Twas the week before Christmas, and all through the town, Safe Touch was gone. They were nowhere to be found.
Oh, I like it already.
The do-it-yourself alarms, just as simple as pie, claim to be good, but crooks know it's a lie.
Yeah, we do.
No more stressing about Safe Touch's response guarantee, 'cause the do-it-yourself alarms don't have one, you see?
Do-it-yourself alarms have no response guarantee?
And that's why it's plain to see that the Crooks Are Us rule reminds us every day staying away from Safe Touch houses is the price we gotta pay.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
New flavors and a rating that would make men jealous. Hey, everyone, this is Austin Lane.
And I'm Brett Martineau. Vita de Louis recently got a 98 rating. It's new, and it's getting rave reviews.
Made in Tequila, Mexico, and shipped directly to Jack's Beach. Vita de Louis is available in 3 flavors.
And those flavors are Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo. Try all 3. Make your own recipes with Vita de Louis Tequila, one of the smoothest tequilas you will ever taste. For merchandise and more, visit VitaDeLouis.com. Trust, tradition, and quality. A winning combination to feel good about your home. Sometimes it's just that time to replace your roof. Or maybe you need to fix your roof after a recent storm. Hey, everybody, it's Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks. And there are so many roofing companies in the area. But which one can you trust? Let me tell you about my friends at Jack C. Wilson Roofing Company. Trust a family-owned business with owners that grew up right here in Jacksonville. Talk to the owners directly. Get free estimates. And you can trust Jack C. Wilson Roofing to walk you through each step of the process. Tradition? Jack C. Wilson is a name you know. The longest-standing roofing company in Northeast Florida. They have been repairing and replacing asphalt shingle roofs since 1946. How about quality? A roof you will tell your neighbors about. Quality from start to finish, shingle by shingle. You can request a free estimate at jackcwilsonroofing.com. It's the first name in Jacksonville roofing. And make sure you let them know Brent Martineau sent you.
Men, are the effects of hypertension, diabetes, or prostate cancer preventing you from having a satisfying love life? In just one visit, the doctors at Prime Men's Medical Center can help you overcome ED or PE to regain your confidence and have you last longer in the bedroom. Name brand pills don't work for many men and can have serious side effects. The highly skilled physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center provide custom blended medications that are safe, effective, and work immediately, regardless of your medical history or age. You'll see results on your first visit, guaranteed, or your consultation is free. So, if you have problems in the bedroom, call now for a private consultation. One call, one visit, one simple solution to regain your love life. Call Prime Men's Medical Center now at 904-206-8105. 904-206-8105. That's 904-206-8105.
Small business owners, it's been a great year, and now it's time to begin to make some end-of-year decisions. Instead of giving your hard-earned money to the tax man, consider reinvesting in your business with a quality pre-owned truck, van, or commercial work vehicle from Jacksonville Truck Center. With the largest selection of pre-owned work vehicles in North Florida and easy commercial financing, let us be your one-stop shop to get the job done today. We're on the corner of Arlington Expressway and Southside Connector. Stop by today or visit us at JacksonvilleTruckCenter.com.
Golick and Wingo.
I think my jersey was one of the top-selling jerseys around the world, and I didn't make $1 from it, but nor did I want to.
I respect Tim Tebow. I respect his opinion. I love his passion. I just could not disagree with it more.
Golick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Brent Martineau.
You see him every day on CBS 47, Fox 30, Action Sports Jag.
Austin Lane.
He's a former Jag star and current MMA fighter.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studio. This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Congratulations to Calais, in his 12th season and, 3 straight years now he's been with us. He's been voted to the Pro Bowl. I've been fortunate, I really have been in my career, having, players go into the Hall of Fame, players that I've gotten close to. And I got a question the other day. I don't know if, I think, Tad and I were talking about it with a statement we were going to put out for Calais or the effect that he's had on his teammates. And then I look at even broader, because we all know about the community stuff he does here and at home, and his leadership ability in the locker room. He's always positive.
Well, that's Doug Marrone on Calais Campbell. And listen, there's nothing to not praise about Calais Campbell, right? Fantastic football player, one of the best free agents, not only in Jacksonville, in history of the NFL. He's now made 3 straight Pro Bowls since signing that big contract. He has earned every penny of that contract through 3 years. I don't know if he'll continue to earn it, but the Jacksonville Jaguars, when you give the resume of this regime, make sure you add to it Calais Campbell. And it's been one heck of a signing for this community, I think for the feel of this franchise. I can tell you that show we do on Thursdays, Jaguars All Access, which we will have this week, we will have the next 3 Thursdays, even with the holidays around. I can tell you the vibe he presents and the people that love to come out and see him and appreciate what he does for the community, even in losses, even in losing streaks, is felt. And yeah, it's more important to win and all those other things, but he's doing a lot of good work around. So you can't say enough about Calais Campbell. We knew that anyway. I thought it was high praise from Doug Marrone. And I think from a big free agent standpoint, it's different. Street free agents, like they'll say Jimmy Smith, of course, back in the day, that was a heck of a sign. But when you talk about investing in a big free agent, think about the ones they've had or tried to over the years. In the history of this franchise, I don't think you'll find a bigger one. And they've landed some pretty good ones, like Paul Posluszny was a good one for the years they got out of him. I mean, even A.J. Boye's been a good one. We can tell you the good ones. But has there been a greater one in terms of big money free agent signing? I don't think so.
There hasn't been a bigger one, in my opinion, of the on-the-field performance and also just the off-the-field way he carries himself and represents the franchise through the good and bad times. We've talked about it before, but with Calais Campbell. When we call him out and say, he didn't do good in this play, he's man enough to admit the mistake. He'll explain why it went wrong and what he plans to do to fix it. And even today with the whole NFLPA thing coming out, which is a big topic right now in that locker room, and all the players getting asked the questions, I thought he handled that situation admirably, and I thought he had the perfect response to it. It's almost like, I'm adamant. I hope they keep Calais Campbell. I hope they can restructure his deal if need be. But if you keep Calais Campbell, remember when in Space Jam, MJ was like the player coach. They need Calais Campbell to be the player/PR person going forward, because I think just the way he represents the organization and comes across, how could you not like the guy?
Well, you have to. I don't think everybody takes to it in a locker room, though. You've been through this.
Are you talking about the takes to it as in the way he presents himself?
Yeah,
you're absolutely. You're right.
I don't. I honestly don't think this is. I don't know if I know enough about this, but I know what I saw on a couple occasions, and I think I know at least a little bit enough about it. Like, I don't think a guy like Ramsey cared what Calais Campbell had to say, what he brought to the table, all the things that a lot of people appreciate and will rave about and talk about. Doug Marrone just did. Other players will. I think a guy like Ramsey is like, I don't really, whatever. Yeah, whatever, dude. Like, it just, in one ear, right out the other, I'm doing it my way, and that's it. I think that's and I'm not saying he was the only one, but I think that happens across the league as well. I think there are just some guys, you're probably not going to get on to be on that page. Well, and I don't want to be unfair to Ramsey because I'm not saying he's the only guy that across the league has ever done it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it doesn't matter. Would a Larry Fitzgerald be able to influence Jalen Ramsey? I don't know. Probably not. No, probably not. And he's influenced a lot of guys.
But let me tell you something you should already know, Brent. In terms of locker rooms, even on Super Bowl winning teams, not everybody gets along with everybody in that locker room. No. There's cliques just like it's in high school.
Absolutely.
Now, when they go on the field, then yes, they play together, and you don't notice any of the rumblings. But in every locker room and in every job, pick your job, there's going to be discrepancies. There's going to be, changes of personality where one may not agree with how someone else, conducts themselves, for whatever the reason. If it's age, background, religion, where they come from, whatever the reasons are, that's always going to happen in a locker room. But I think, Calais Campbell is there for the guys that want to listen, like the Josh Allens, who was playing at a Pro Bowl level himself. I think Calais Campbell has a lot to do with that. So if guys want to listen, Calais Campbell's there. And if it's me, and listen, even when I was that rookie in the NFL and I had Aaron Campman, I didn't always agree with Aaron Campman stuff, right? Like, I'll be honest. I'm not going to come in at 5:30 in the morning and sit in the cold tub for 20 minutes. Okay, Aaron? I'm going to sleep, and I'm not going to foam roll after it. I'm not going to foam roll my IT bands. You know why, Aaron? Because it hurts, okay? It sucks, and I don't want to do it. Okay, I eat P.F. Chang's and I eat Panda Express 5 times a week. I don't care. I'm not going to eat a salad every single day like you do. I'm just going to do my thing. Now, looking back on it, in retrospect, should I have looked at Aaron Campman a little more and been like, dude, I probably should have came along? Yeah, I absolutely should have. But I was a rookie. It was kind of like a generational thing, so it is what it is. But Calais Campbell's there for those players that need him. I guess that's my point.
That's a great story. It's great. One, because young guys, when you're young and dumb.
You're young and dumb, you think you know it all.
And you think you know it all. And by the way, that's any profession. That's anything. That's life. That's your kids. That's whatever. That's you when you were a kid to your parent. It's all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of sense of, here's my view of what happened. In 16, they were so hungry to win. They were so tired of everything after 16 got done that when 17, guys like Calais came in, and he's like, I've done this before. Malik Jackson, who had come in, in that free agency time frame, he had done it before. He's like, I've been to the Super Bowl, Calais says. Malik says, I've won a Super Bowl. That's well-respected stuff inside. Like, hey, show us the way, man. Show us how do we get there. Hey, big brother, how do we do this? Because we can't find our way out of a wet paper bag right now.
And it's funny you brought it up, but that big brother's job, Brent, I'll let you finish, but I cut you off for a second. So like the Aaron Campmans, like the Calais Campbells, yes, they will show you the way, but here's the thing. Even the greats like those guys, they're not going to pull you by your wrist. They're not going to say, hey, come with me. I'll show you how it's done. You have to go out of your way to follow them because it's very rarely in an NFL locker room where that seasoned vet, the guy that knows how to do things the right way, is going to go, hey, you come over here. You come over here. You come over here. No, it's your job as a rookie to go follow them.
Well, and Posluszny and Miles Jack, right?
Yep.
You kind of sense that relationship was in there too. So you had those guys. And I still can't get over the dynamic of a couple of things. Paul Posluszny leaves, and in his retirement, the emotions of Telvin Smith. The Doug Marrone saying, we're going to create a T-shirt, what would Puz do? I think naming the team room after Puz.
Well, it was the team room, and then it was like the training room as well. Like I think Milo made it the Paul Posluszny award or whatever like that for the best weightlifter.
Yeah, so there were things that are happening in there.
Yeah.
And so they see
the
it.
Influence.
Telvin Smith sees it.
Yeah.
Miles Jack sees it. And just because they're not in the building anymore, you don't do it? I mean, was it really that impactful? Was it just show? what I don't get that dynamic. Something changed in there for Telvin Smith along the way last year at 18 and now whatever his future is or isn't in the NFL. And Miles Jack even, I mean, is he lived up to that? Like if you really did wear a shirt to what would Puzz? And I'm not saying you have to do everything a guy does in the NFL.
Of course.
I don't want to misrepresent
you still have to be your own man at the end of the day.
You do have to be your own guy. And you don't want to clone Puzzlesny and be the guy. I'm just saying these guys were guided down a path and looked like they were all in on that path. And it's like, okay, is that path still, is it, do you really need that guy showing you way? I mean, do you need the horse, to guide you to that water all the time? Yeah. You weren't ready to do it on your own? That's the way I got this feel sometimes. And I'm afraid of that with Calais Campbell in this locker room. If he goes away, does some of those guys lose that? Does a Josh Allen, does a Yannick Ngakoue, who have been highly influenced, and they give a lot of credit to Calais Campbell and how he does business. And by the way, they do things on their own great. They have chips on their shoulders. They want to be great, all those things. It's not just Calais. They have this drive within them. But is that enough to carry them, or would they go down the wrong path? I think this organization has to be a little bit careful of that, given the history in the last decade of making some really bad choices and having some not so great locker rooms of losing a guy like Campbell. I guess that's my point.
No, and you're absolutely correct there, Brent, because we saw it happen with Darryl Smith. We saw it happen with Mercedes Lewis. Then we saw it happen when Puzz left recently. And with those guys, those staples, those pillars in the locker room, it's almost like they got the keys to like a 2000 Mitsubishi Eclipse, and guess what? It's a stick shift, and it's hard to drive. But if you stick with them, and if you follow them, they will show you how to drive that car, so you will be fine on your own. So when it's their time to hand over the keys, well, some players weren't ready to handle that responsibility. And guess what? And you know what they did? They messed up the bumper. They couldn't drive the stick shift, or they hit a deer. Whatever the case is, it wasn't a good situation. So they weren't ready. And I agree with you from the sentiments of, if Calais Campbell was to leave right now, if the new regime comes in and says, sorry, man, we can't pay this much money, got to go someplace else. Sorry. If I look at this team right now, I am a little nervous with where they go from the leadership. You have guys like Yannick Ngakoue, okay? You have guys like Miles Jack. But it begs the question, are they ready to drive the car? Are they ready to take over for Calais if Calais is no longer here? And I honestly don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. I'm gonna spin this to this current events of this week. And I got to be careful here because I don't want to insinuate. I'm genuinely just asking and just raising theories like we do sometimes on these kind of topics. Given the grievances and the battle with the front office with some players, could it look like for Calais that he was too much of the company guy? And not just Calais, Puzz, Calais, whoever. Maybe it was Mercedes at the time. And name your guy. Name the guy that you thought was, hey, he was the leader in there and influencing guys and doing the right way and be a pro.
Yeah.
But Jalen Ramsey's battling the front office. And did Jalen Ramsey at times feel like he's battling the front office in his own locker room? And that might have been the Calaises and Puzzes of the world. Did he view it that way? Could he have been right about that? Well, I don't think he's right about that, by the way. I don't think he is. But I'm just saying, if he had that perception, could other guys have had that perception as well? And you then refer to a cliquey locker room.
Yeah.
And you get that situation. You know what I mean? I don't want to be unfair saying that.
This is a great question. Man, that's a good point that I've honestly never thought of before. I guess when we're looking from that perspective, because we always say in this business, Brent, where there's smoke, there's fire. So all we know is the stuff that's happened with the grievances and then the jail and stuff. We know stuff from what we hear from the team. Granted, there's probably a lot more stuff that we don't even know about yet.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That maybe will come out in a book later down the line. Can't wait to read that one. So it's even worse than we've, try to bring across to the people listening.
And every NFL headquarters is like that.
Correct.
Has
Absolutely.
Stuff that nobody has heard about.
Exactly. So from that perspective, is it almost a detriment, I guess you would say, trying to get to your thesis here, it's almost a detriment sometimes where when you have that leadership that is the company man, that is like, hey guys, we should listen to them because, they're the bosses and everything, and you can lose a locker room like that. And I can see that standpoint. But at the same time, And I fell in line where I had to be a company man. There were some things that happened, Brent, when I played that I would have loved to come out and said, you know what, this isn't right, and I don't want to be here. But I couldn't afford to do that because I wanted a job. I had to put food on the table, and if I was to do that, who was to say I could never play football again? Because other teams would see that and be like, no, we don't want him. Let him go. Yeah, he's a pawn. He's not a primetime player. So when you have guys like Calais Campbell who can come out and say that, who can come out and quote unquote have Jalen Ramsey's back, does it create a rift when they don't do that? And the short answer could be yes. I don't know the answer for sure, but I think the long answer is this. We know that the culture this year has been horrible, okay? It hasn't been good. The team hasn't been succeeding. There's been grievances left and right. It was not a good year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I know deep down Calais Campbell understands that, listen, this culture right now, man, this isn't good, okay? This isn't a good situation here. I have two options if I'm Calais Campbell. I can come out and say, you know what, this is BS here. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to try to, I guess, rally a mutiny in the locker room and try to get changes. And that's the one way you can take. Or you can take the road that I think he took. And he took the road that says, you know what, the front office, it's not good right now, but I'm supposed to be a leader of this team. Winning is the most important part of the game. And right now, complaining, saying it's not right here, saying that changes should be made, it's not going to help us win at the moment. So I think while you could argue that Calais Campbell is the company man and it doesn't reflect good on the locker room and that leadership, I could also turn around and spin it and say, you know what, Calais Campbell is the guy that was jumping on grenades, trying to keep it afloat just because he's been in NFL locker rooms. He knows how it works, and he's trying to help guys keep their jobs.
Absolutely. Again, I am not in any way, shape, or form, if this was the case, even blaming or faulting Calais Campbell. It's all a perception thing.
But it was a great question, though.
And in a me kind of locker room, world, sport, profession, Jalen Ramsey, me, he's only looking at it one way.
Yeah.
What about me?
Yeah.
And that we know for fact. I mean, that's just the kind of guy, that's a player he is. And that's okay. That's sometimes an awesome thing.
Yeah.
But in these kind of moments, could it create friction and those kind of things too? Here's one last thought on it. There is no player, very few players, in fact, in the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there is no player right now in the locker room, and there are several to choose from, but no player that is more respected by the organization than Calais Campbell. Top down. Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, Dave Caldwell, Shad Khan, Tony Khan, everybody. The mailman, everybody. There is no player that is more respected. I can say that. Fact.
I'll co-sign that all day, man.
If I am Shad Khan, and maybe he has, maybe he hasn't, at some point in the next 2 weeks, I am sitting down with Calais Campbell and getting all the dirt. The things that he might not say in front of a microphone, but would tell me because he's in that building, and say it from a player's perspective, but also a guy that understands how it should work from the top down and respects the top-down management, top-down coaching. If I'm Shad Khan, I am sitting down with Calais Campbell at some point in the next 2 weeks, and probably at the end of the season. Let him do his job and finish his job and finish out this year. But I'm calling that meeting and asking for that meeting and hopeful that Calais Campbell will respond and shed some light on this organization and how to make it better.
You want to hear something crazy? When Coach Malarkey was let go and Shad Khan was in-house, he appointed this leadership council to come in and talk to Shad Khan after the everybody went home. But like that leadership council, I wasn't part of it, so I can't say what happened in those meetings. But there was some guys in that locker room that talked to Shad Khan about, hey, here's what's going on and here's what we need to do going forward.
This was after Malarkey got fired?
After Malarkey got fired.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe they're I
know who the
president of that committee should be.
Yeah,
let's just say that.
Without a doubt.
And you know what? I also maybe would even bring back a guy like Puzzlesny and other players. It should be a variety of personalities and players. It shouldn't just be like this, this one type of player.
No, yeah.
But you can bring people that aren't afraid to say anything. And be like, hey, this is way it could, kind of like what Doug did. It sounds like Doug did that this year. He listened to the players. But maybe the owner now needs to listen to the players, much like they did, it sounds like, back in 2013. Other couple of quick things.
Sure.
I think Leonard Fournette gets snubbed. He earned a right to go to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It's tough. I'm not saying Nick Chubb doesn't deserve to go or Ingram doesn't deserve to go, those guys. But it's hard to sit here and cover Leonard Fournette every day and see what we see and not just from a change in personality and maturity, but on the field, and say he hasn't earned a spot in the Pro Bowl. I was probably the one I felt bad for the most because of all the change he put in, and I know it would have meant a lot to him. Yeah. I think he will get in eventually, and hopefully he does as an alternate.
I hope he does too, because you know what?
He's earned it, man.
He's earned it, and it justifies for all the work that he put in. Now he shouldn't care, because in my eyes he's a Pro Bowl player. But if he was to go to the Pro Bowl, it just justifies all that work.
The one thing I've learned is this stuff matters to these guys a lot. Yeah. It really does. It matters a lot because it's resume building. Josh Allen. He'll get there, and he might even get there this year. The other one is Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know what we have to do. This is kind of like Baselli and Fred Taylor to the Hall of Fame. But we need to start putting Yannick Ngakoue's name out there more, because the fact that he's not even on the alternate list is a damn shame. Just a damn shame. I mean, this guy, he already has one. So he's got a little bit of notoriety amongst the league.
Yeah.
I understand why he doesn't have it as much with the fans, but we need to boost him out there. They need to boost him out there. Yannick has to do some things, I guess, from a marketing standpoint, but he deserves more recognition. Even if he didn't get in, he should be a first or second alternate.
No,
he wasn't even on the alternate list, man.
Listen, Brent, you're absolutely right, but at the end of the day, the Jaguars are 5-9 right now.
I get it.
And that's got a lot to do with it, man.
I get it. I also don't love the fact that the Ravens have 12. 12 is a lot.
That's a lot.
12 is a lot. You even brought last year, Kansas City had 6. As good as they were.
Exactly.
All right. We'll talk more Jags and everything tomorrow. You know, next couple of days, I do want to do this. Stories of the decade.
Yep.
Maybe locally, maybe even beyond. Just some things that stick out. And we're going to go through some stories of this year. And heck, we can spend a whole day doing stories of this year.
Get the button ready.
on shows.
I said
close.
Shows. That's close. Shows.
Oh, you thought I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I thought it was going.
No, I wasn't doing that. I just couldn't spit out shows.
Real quick chance to redeem yourself. So have you decided, do you like my shirt or not?
Yeah.
Scratching his face. Scratching his face, so he's lying to me already. Scratching his face.
What are those things, those big green things? Not grasshoppers, but like the praying mantis?
Yeah.
I feel like your shirt is full of praying mantises.
Wow, that's awesome. And what are you wearing today? Let me see your shoes quick. What are you rocking? Okay.
These are Costco specials.
You look like a guy from a Zoloft commercial who hasn't taken the product yet. I'm depressed just looking at you right now. How do you feel about that? Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Bren. Yeah, it's going okay. I just don't care right now. There you go.
Well,
happy holidays, Brent.
Thank you very much.
Disney depression.
You know, you just can't take it. You just can't take it.
You better believe it. I can dish it out all day, but you better believe I'm sensitive and I cannot take it. I'll be the first to admit it.
All right. Hey, we'll update you on all the rankings. By the way, Florida comes in number 7, Georgia number 6 right now, and the recruiting's Ohio State 3, Clemson 1, Bama 2, LSU's number 4. So a pretty good showing for the SEC. I think they had 10 in the top 25 in the rankings. Of course, there'll be another national signing day coming up in February.
I'm going to file a grievance for you, and I'll see you tomorrow, man.
All right, very good. Grievance on that shirt. You just got fined $66. Have a good night, everybody.
What's up, everybody? It's Austin Lee on ESPN 690, and I need you, your friends, and family to meet me at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena Saturday, December 21st for the Jacksonville Icemen's Drive for 10,000 teddy bears. I know what you're thinking, hockey and teddy bears, but check this out. When the Icemen score their first goal, fans will be encouraged to throw their teddy bears and other stuffed animals on the ice. These stuffed animals will then be donated to the Children's Christmas Party of Jacksonville, so thousands of local kids are going to have their holiday shine a little brighter. There is no limit to the amount of stuffed animals that you can bring. This may be the only time where you're actually encouraged to throw things at a sporting event. So let's have some fun. Let's cheer on the Icemen and try to break an ECHL teddy bear toss record, all while doing our part in making sure local kids in need have a special holiday as well. It's the Drive for 10,000 teddy bears supporting the Children's Christmas Party of Jacksonville this Saturday, December 21st. Get your tickets now at JacksIceman.com/Teddy19. That's JacksIceman.com/Teddy19, and let's put some teddy bears on ice.
At Action News Jax, we're here for severe. When storms threaten, put your trust in the Action News Jax First Alert Weather Team, led by Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish, rated the most accurate for the last 13 years.
The First Alert Weather Team is the only team of certified meteorologists in the Jacksonville area. That means we have the most schooling and training to forecast and predict severe weather, and that experience will keep you safe from a storm.
Action News Jax First Alert Weather on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
In an ocean of car dealers, there's only one Atlantic Infinity. The Infinity Winter Sales Event features the all-new 2020s, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, loaded with luxury and convenience that will delight and amaze you, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto delivering exceptional touchscreen command of email, music, text, games, and maps. Now, the Infinity Winter Sales Event at the one and only Atlantic Infinity's new showroom. Call for a test drive, 642-0200. Atlantic Infinity, 10980 Atlantic Boulevard.
Are you looking for the best wings around? I found the place. Listen up. Hey, everyone, it's Brent Martineau, Mr. Chubby's Wings.